Chapter 384. The creator of the incomplete inheritance that Beiyuan Wanderer obtained should have been a senior expert in the sword cultivation path. If this sword aura transformation technique was really as recorded in the Beast Skin book, it could be called the ultimate treasure of sword cultivation. The Beiyuan sword sect was able to take such an advanced technique for themselves. Blood Shadow obtained this technique but did not take it seriously. This meant that there was something wrong with it. Otherwise, this technique alone could cause a fight among the top forces. Wang Daoyuan used 2 days to master the sword aura transformation technique. He tried to use the sword aura transformation technique to condense the image of a white tiger. The condensation was very successful. In a dozen breaths, a white tiger image that was more than 10 feet long was formed. He controlled the white tiger image and attacked a rock that was more than 10 feet tall. The white tiger image pounced on the rock and disappeared. Not even a bit of rock was destroyed. The moss on the rock was still alive. Wang Daoyuan thought that he was too unfamiliar with the sword aura transformation technique. He cultivated for another 2 to 3 months and tried to condense something else. The result was not much different. After the sword aura transformation technique, it still dissipated upon contact. It was not lethal at all. Although he was a little disappointed, he knew that this situation was to be expected. If the sword aura transformation technique was valuable, the Beiyuan sword manual would not have become an inheritance that no major forces wanted. Wang Daoyuan was not a one-track-minded sword cultivator. The technique that he cultivated depended on its practicality. The potential of a technique was not important. The power that could be unleashed was what was important. Since there was a problem with the sword aura transformation technique, he gave up on cultivating it. Apart from the sword aura transformation technique, the Beiyuan sword manual also had 2 other techniques, the demon-resisting sword bell and the endless sword sea. The demon-resisting sword bell was a defensive technique. It used sword aura to condense the image of a long sword. Finally, these long sword images formed the shape of a bell. Wang Daoyuan had seen this technique before. The first time he came to Guiyan City, a cultivator from the Beiyuan sword sect forced him to join the sect. After Wang Daoyuan refused, a fight broke out between them. At that time, that person used the demon-resisting sword bell as a defensive technique. Unfortunately, that fellow's execution speed was too slow. He could only condense the shadow of the long sword, and could not form the shape of the bell. Boundless Sword Sea was an offensive spell that relied on quantity to win. It used sword chi to condense a wave to suppress the opponent. These 2 spells were not circulated in the outside world. Only the direct disciples of the Beiyuan sword sect knew how to use them. These 2 sword cultivation techniques were not weak, so there was no harm in cultivating them. Who knows, in the future, he might need to do something that required the Beiyuan sword sect to take the blame. After that, Wang Daoyuan cultivated in Fallen Dragon Ridge, comprehending the sword will and the charm of the divine beast White Tiger. Observing the fights between tiger-type demonic beasts would be of great help. It was time for Yun-Yi to make a contribution. Coincidentally, Yun-Yi was also a white tiger. Other than the 2 clouds on her shoulders, she was not much different from the legendary white tiger. He called Yun-Yi over and saw that she was about 9 zhang tall and had a waist circumference of 4 to 5 zhang. After landing, he could only lie on the ground and stand with his 4 legs straight. His belly could even be dragged on the ground. Those who did not know would not be able to imagine that this guy was actually a tiger-type spirit beast. He patted her belly and said, "Yun-Yi, from now on, you don't have to eat barbecued meat. You can eat barbecued meat only when you lose all that fat on your body." Yun-Yi was very dissatisfied and made a whining sound to express her protest. Wang Daoyuan ignored her at all. He often went out to travel. When he was in the family, he was busy with various matters and did not have time to supervise her. Now that he wanted to use her, he naturally had to train her well. Yun Yi's tiger roar seemed to be one of her innate spells. Demonic beasts and human cultivators of similar cultivation levels had no resistance to the tiger roar. Only Wang Daoyuan and the thunder ape could not be affected by the tiger roar. Wang Daoyuan was Yun Yi's master, so he was naturally not afraid of her. And the thunder ape seemed to have a high-level demonic beast bloodline, so it was not afraid of Yun Yi's intimidation. It was best to let the thunder ape train Yun Yi. Although the two of them had similar cultivation levels, Yun Yi was lazy, while the thunder ape was a battle maniac. Once they fought, Yun Yi would definitely be trampled. Wang Daoyuan instructed the thunder ape to be merciful. The thunder ape's intelligence was not inferior to that of an ordinary person, so it naturally knew that it could not be ruthless. After the fight began, the thunder ape relied on its agile body and pushed Yun Yi to the ground. It pressed its hands that were filled with thunder spiritual energy on Yun Yi's belly, causing Yun Yi to wail and beg Wang Daoyuan for help pitifully. The thunder ape also had a sense of propriety. Although Yun Yi cried out miserably, she was not hurt at all. Wang Daoyuan naturally continued to watch the show. Yun Yi saw that there was no hope, so she began to resist with all her might. However, this fellow had only been domineering in the space of the spiritual pearl for a period of time when she was young. Later on, her body was too big, so after she was taken out of the space, she did not fight anymore. To resist the battle-hardened thunder ape, her little bit of strength was obviously not enough. The ape and the tiger fought for 4 hours, but Yun Yi was still completely suppressed. Wang Daoyuan was about to shout for them to stop and let them rest, and a tiger roar came from the east. This tiger roar was extremely intimidating. It was definitely not something that a tiger-type demon beast could produce. Although the thunder ape and Yun Yi had extraordinary bloodlines, they were only tiger-type demons after all. Hearing this roar, they were still a little scared. The Wang family's development of the heavenly/mountain range was squeezing the living space of the demon beasts. It was only a matter of time before they encountered a tiger-type demon beast. Tiger-type demon beasts did not have enough intelligence and only cared about their own territory. Tiger-type demon beasts' intelligence was comparable to that of ordinary people. They had the awareness of racial justice, so it was not uncommon for them to meddle in other people's business. This was also the reason why most forces did not dare to develop the heavenly/mountain range easily. No matter how much resources they invested, if they attracted a tiger-type demon beast, their previous investment would all be for naught. Wang Daoyuan ordered the two of them to return to the Jade Spine Mountain while he went to meet the tiger-type demon beast. He couldn't wait for it to come over. Otherwise, if they fought, the Jade Spine Mountain and Golden Tiger Mountain's properties and clansmen would be affected. The tiger-type formations on the two mountains were not enough to block the aftermath of a battle between Violet Palace realm cultivators. Riding the Prairie Fire Sword, Lin Yun flew towards the east. After flying for over 30 miles, he saw a ferocious white tiger coming from the east. The stripes on the white tiger's body were all golden. This seemed to be a golden-striped tiger. Previously, he killed 2 tiger-type demons from the Golden Tiger Mountain. Could it be that they were from the same clan? This golden-striped tiger was a tiger-type demon beast. Judging from its spiritual energy fluctuation, it should not be far from tiger-type demon beasts. Golden-striped tigers had great potential. Tiger-type demons had appeared before, so this tiger-type demon beast wasn't rare. Golden-striped tigers weren't weak. Back when he killed the 2 tiger-type demons, each of them could block dozens of feathers from the Golden Rock Seizing Dragon technique. That rank 3 lower-grade golden pattern tiger's battle prowess could not be underestimated. When the golden-striped tiger saw Wang Daoyuan, it let out a few roars. Thereafter, it raised its front paw and waved it at Lin Yun. 5 golden sword rays appeared out of thin air and slashed towards Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan dodged the attack with his sword and summoned the white tiger blade. He wielded the white tiger blade and swung it at the golden-striped tiger. When the sword ray slashed over, the golden-striped tiger waved its paw and shattered the sword ray. After probing it, the golden-striped tiger wasn't weak. It wouldn't be easy to deal with it. They were only 100 miles away from the Jade Spine Mountain and Golden Tiger Mountain, so he didn't dare to retreat. Otherwise, his properties and clansmen would suffer losses. If he stayed here for too long and attracted other tiger-type demon beasts, it would be even more troublesome. He flew towards the south on his sword, wanting to lure the golden-striped tiger elsewhere. When the golden-striped tiger saw him fleeing towards the south, it didn't give up and followed closely behind. Wang Daoyuan wasn't worried. Instead, he was happy. It was easy to lure it away, luring it to another place to fight so that it wouldn't destroy his territory. Chapter 385. In the north of the mountain, the demons and half-demons were hostile. Even the rank 4 demonic beasts were in a tense standoff. If he lured them over, it would be easy to cause trouble, so he could only lure them to the south. Wang Daoyuan flew towards the southeast while the golden-striped tiger chased after him. A rank 3 demonic beast's running speed was even faster than a Foundation establishment cultivator's flying sword. It could cover over 2,000 miles in 2 hours. Wang Daoyuan controlled the speed of his flying sword so that the golden-striped tiger wouldn't give up the chase if he was too far away. After running southwest for 6 hours, he arrived at the east of the 100 Rivers Lake. It wasn't a bad choice to make a move here. Even if he alarmed some demonic beasts, they would run east. The 100 Rivers Lake was to the west, so there wouldn't be a small beast tide. However, there were many wandering cultivators in the 100 Rivers Lake, and there were many spies from the various factions. Once he made a move, it would be difficult to hide the fact that he had established a violet palace. This damned tiger had ruined everything. Compared to the safety of his clan, exposing his violet palace realm cultivation was nothing. Wang Daoyuan stopped at the east of the 100 Rivers Lake. He hadn't been here for 80 to 90 years. Back then, he was only a late-stage qi refinement cultivator. Now, he was already a violet palace realm cultivator. Revisiting this place made him feel that the affairs of the world were impermanent. The golden-striped tiger quickly caught up and pounced at Wang Daoyuan. Although rank 3 demonic beasts couldn't fly, it wasn't difficult for a demonic beast like the golden-striped tiger, which was known for its agility. However, its agility was naturally limited when it was in the air. Wang Daoyuan easily dodged its attack and brandished the white tiger blade, slashing at the golden-striped tiger's waist. As expected of a big cat, the golden-striped tiger twisted its body in the air and dodged the sword beam. The sword beam's lethality was only a so-so, so it wasn't worth using his spiritual sense to control it. After dodging the sword beam, the golden-striped tiger brandished its claws and sent out a few waves of energy. Wang Daoyuan swung his sword and shattered the energy waves. It seemed that a small fight wouldn't be able to suppress the golden-striped tiger. Even the myriad sword art's phantom sword couldn't withstand a single swipe of the golden-striped tiger's claws. He unleashed the heaven-cleaving sword and formed a giant sword shadow that was hundreds of feet long. He swung the sword at the golden-striped tiger. Seeing that he was serious, the golden-striped tiger did not dodge. It opened its huge mouth and let out a furious roar. The demonic beasts in the vicinity fled one after another. The Tier 1 demonic beast was directly knocked unconscious. There were still some rogue cultivators at the 100 Rivers Lake who had been watching the show, but now, they all fled into the lake. This tiger roar clearly had the effect of intimidating one's soul. Wang Daoyuan's soul was powerful, and he also had the 5 elements divine beasts protecting his Zifu. To him, this tiger roar was just a little ear-piercing. However, the might of the golden-striped tiger still made him a little apprehensive. Previously, when he wanted to comprehend the white tiger sword intent and the divine beast white tiger's charm, the white tiger phantom in his purple mansion phenomenon was a little lacking. Yunyi had been raised into a fat cat. She no longer had any dignity. Now that he was exchanging blows with the golden-striped tiger, he felt a trace of emotion. The golden-striped tiger hadn't finished casting its innate spell, and its roar hadn't even faded away when the shadow of a tiger's head flew out. This shadow of a tiger's head was exactly the same as the golden-striped tiger's head. The shadow of a tiger's head bit the heaven-cleaving sword. Wang Daoyuan waved the sword with all his might and slashed downwards. The giant sword only slashed down a few feet before it couldn't go any further. At this moment, the giant sword was still more than 10 feet away from the golden-striped tiger, but it was forcibly blocked by the shadow of a tiger's head. Wang Daoyuan was also sweating. Fortunately, he didn't provoke a Tier 3 demonic beast before refining the white tiger blade. After breaking through to the Tier 3 demonic beast, its weakness was that its intelligence was low and its methods were simple. Especially tiger-type demonic beasts, they were considered relatively strong among demonic beasts of the same level. Ordinary early-stage Zifu realm cultivators really weren't a match for the golden-striped tiger. Just like Wang Daoyuan's heaven-cleaving sword, ordinary opponents of the same level couldn't withstand it at all. This golden-striped tiger only released a shadow of a tiger's head, and it was evenly matched. The golden-striped tiger closed its mouth, and the shadow of a tiger's head did the same. The heaven-cleaving sword was crushed by the shadow of a tiger's head, and the shadow of a tiger's head also disappeared. Ordinary methods couldn't take down the golden-striped tiger, so he had to take out some special skills. He poured a large amount of spiritual power and spiritual sense into the white tiger blade, condensing the white tiger blade's Dharma idol. A 30-meter-long shadow of a divine white tiger flew out from the long sword and pounced on the golden-striped tiger below. The white tiger blade's Dharma idol was exactly the same as a real divine white tiger in terms of appearance and movement. However, it didn't have the imposing manner of a divine white tiger. Even if it had the might of a tiger, it was still slightly inferior to the golden-striped tiger in front of him. If it had the charm of the Scarlet Luan's shadow that Zhou Luan used, then the golden-striped tiger would probably have to lie down as soon as the Dharma idol appeared. The white tiger Dharma idol and the golden-striped tiger fought together. Wang Daoyuan used the Dharma idol to feel the golden-striped tiger's aura and comprehend the white tiger's sword intent from it. Forget about the charm of a divine white tiger. Although the golden-striped tiger was also a tiger, there were no rumors that it had the bloodline of a divine white tiger. Neither did any golden-striped tiger reveal the ability of a divine white tiger. The Dharma idol was supported by spiritual sense and spiritual power, and the golden-striped tiger didn't have the strength to directly break the Dharma idol. Wang Daoyuan wanted to use the golden-striped tiger to comprehend the white tiger's sword intent, so he didn't intend to end the battle quickly, and the situation was in a stalemate. Every time the two white tigers swung their claws, every time they bit, they carried with them a force that was as strong as a sword. When the sword aura hit the opponent, it would cause wounds. If the opponent dodged, the surrounding rocks and vegetation would be unlucky. Waves of whistling sounds resounded through the sky. The monsters within 100 miles had either fled long ago or were paralyzed on the ground in fear. The stalemate lasted for about 2 hours, and the two white tigers were still evenly matched. At this time, dozens of miles to the east, there was an ape's cry and a wolf's howl. Judging from the aura of this sound, it wasn't something that a rank 2 monster could have. It was just that it was too far away, so it was difficult to determine the specific grade. But even if they were all rank 3 low-grade monsters, when they came over, it would be very difficult for him to face 3 rank 3 monsters. If he attracted another rank 3 monster, it would be difficult for him to escape. This golden-striped tiger couldn't be left alive. Its territory shouldn't be far from Fallen Dragon Ridge. If he let it go, it would come back to Fallen Dragon Ridge to cause trouble. In order to get rid of the golden-striped tiger as soon as possible, he took out the soul-extinguishing bell. The Soul Extinguishing Bell was a rank 2 high-grade magic tool that mainly attacked the soul. It wasn't very useful against Violet Palace realm cultivators. But rank 3 monsters weren't like humans, whose soul had transformed into a divine soul and the protection of the Violet Palace. The soul of a rank 3 monster was much stronger than that of a rank 2 monster, but it didn't undergo a qualitative change like a human's Violet Palace. In terms of soul strength, most rank 3 monsters weren't as strong as a peak foundation establishment cultivator, so the Soul Extinguishing Bell still had some lethality against them. Wang Daoyuan controlled the Soul Extinguishing Bell and flew to a height of 15 meters above the two tigers. When he activated the Soul Extinguishing Bell, a bell rang, and the nearby rank 1 monster that was paralyzed on the ground was instantly killed. The golden-striped tiger was also greatly affected, but it had a strong body to protect it. The attack on its soul was greatly weakened, so it wasn't seriously injured. The white tiger Dharma idol wasn't a living thing, so it wasn't affected at all. Wang Daoyuan activated the Soul Extinguishing Bell more than 10 times before the golden-striped tiger completely lost its ability to resist and lay motionless on the ground. He shot a sword chi into the golden-striped tiger's body through its mouth, crushing its internal organs. The golden-striped tiger was soon completely dead. Wang Daoyuan took out the Ghost Dao magic tool, the soul-capturing bottle, and stored its soul. Even a few strands of hair from a rank 3 monster were worth a lot of spirit stones. It wouldn't be strange if a rank 3 golden-striped tiger's soul was sold for hundreds of thousands of spirit stones. After storing the soul, he put the golden-striped tiger's body into the spirit beast pouch. He crossed the 100 Rivers Lake on his sword and flew west. Chapter 386. 100 Rivers Lake, Green Willow Province, an underground stone room. An 8th-level foundation establishment cultivator cupped his hands towards a mid-Violet Palace realm cultivator and said, "Father, Wang Daoyuan of the Wang clan just killed a low-grade 3rd-grade golden-striped tiger on the eastern shore of the 100 Rivers Lake. He seemed to be using the golden-striped tiger to cultivate his magic arts. Instead of wasting 2 hours, he had the opportunity to kill it in one strike. When other 3rd-grade demon beasts approached, he only used a dozen breaths of time to deal with the golden-striped tiger." The mid-Violet Palace realm cultivator nodded and said, "The Wang clan is also full of talents. I didn't expect that in a short 100 years, they would grow from a precarious foundation establishment clan to a Violet Palace realm clan. 100 years ago, Wang Daoyuan's strength was only on par with yours. Now, his battle prowess might not be below mine. Unfortunately, I don't know what the Wang clan's attitude towards us is." After crossing the 100 Rivers Lake, Wang Daoyuan turned north and returned to the Jade Pine Mountain Immortal's cave. He had gained some insights from the battle with the golden-striped tiger. He needed to enter seclusion to comprehend the white tiger sword intent and see if he could comprehend it in one go. Before entering seclusion, he poured some pure Yin Qi into the soul-capturing bottle to protect the golden-striped tiger's soul. It was heavily injured by the Soul Extinguishing Bell, so the injury to its soul was definitely not light. If it was locked in the soul-capturing bottle for a long time, it might dissipate. After dealing with the soul, he sent a message to his 3rd brother and began his seclusion. 7 days after he entered seclusion to comprehend the white tiger sword intent, Yang Yong arrived at the Jade Spring Mountain. The 12th uncle, Wang Shui, was still in seclusion because he felt the might of the white tiger blade. His 5th uncle personally came out to receive Yang Yong. His 5th uncle invited Yang Yong into the hall and the two took their seats. His 5th uncle cupped his hands and said, "May I know why Senior has come?" Yang Yong replied, "I'm here for Daoyuan. He hasn't reported to the sect after establishing his Violet Palace. A few days ago, Daoyuan killed the golden-striped tiger at the 100 Rivers Lake. The secret agent hiding at the 100 Rivers Lake recognized Daoyuan and reported this matter to the sect's Shadow Guard Hall. The Dark Guard Hall Master asked me about this matter, which is why I came to Jade Spring Peak to ask about the situation. Fifth great-uncle said with a smile, we've only just found out about Dao Yuan establishing his Violet Palace. Ever since he left the mountain, he spent most of his time traveling outside. He had only succeeded in establishing the Violet Palace realm because he had a sudden epiphany during his travels. When he came back, Shui and I were both in seclusion, so he didn't tell us. He had been in seclusion at Jade Spring Peak for a few years to nurture his natal Dharma artifact. Not long ago, he successfully nurtured his magic tool. Only then did we know that he had opened up his Violet Palace. However, I've been in seclusion all these years to create my own natal magic weapon, so I didn't have time to report it to the sect. Recently, Fallen Dragon Ridge was often harassed by demonic beasts, so Dao Yuan went to take charge. That Type 3 golden-striped tiger had invaded Fallen Dragon Ridge, and he was afraid that it would implicate his family's businesses and clansmen, so he decided to lure it to the 100 Rivers Lake and kill it. When Dao Yuan killed the golden-striped tiger previously, he had some comprehension of sword intent. After killing the golden-striped tiger, he went into seclusion to comprehend. I don't know when he will come out. Yang Yong nodded and said, since that's the case, I'll report it to the sect. You still have to make a trip to recommend Dao Yuan as an elder. After Dao Yuan comes out of seclusion, you can go to the sect and have the sect master confer the title of elder. Since I've asked around, I won't stay any longer. Goodbye. In the Jade Pine Mountain Cavern, Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged and kept recalling the scene when the white tiger blade was fighting the golden-striped tiger. The white tiger blade was also summoned into his Violet Palace realm, and his spirit kept controlling the white tiger blade to fly in his Violet Palace realm. He gradually understood that the white tiger represented unparalleled offensive power, and the baleful aura and killing intent were just offensive means. In addition to offensive power, there was also the majesty of a tiger's roar that made all beasts submit. The white tiger sword intent naturally contained the intent of attack and majesty. A month later, in front of Wang Daoyuan's spirit, the power of his divine sense gradually condensed into a ball of gray mist. The mist gradually condensed into the shape of a sword. The gray mist sword was only half an inch long and was very blurry. It had the general shape of a sword, and he couldn't see any details. His spirit controlled the gray mist sword and merged it into the white tiger blade, and summoned the white tiger blade out of his body. Wang Daoyuan's right hand pointed upward, and the white tiger blade flew in the direction of his finger. The white tiger blade stabbed into the rock at the top of the cavern, and the rock couldn't block it. After penetrating dozens of feet of rock, the white tiger blade flew out of the mountain. The clansmen within 15 kilometers felt as if they were being targeted by a ferocious and hungry tiger. They didn't even dare to breathe loudly. Among the mortals at the foot of the mountain, some children who were crying quickly stopped crying, not knowing what to do. On a huge rock at the top of the mountain, Yuni was basking in the sun with her big belly. Suddenly, she was frightened by the aura and rolled off the rock. A pair of cloud wings that were more than 15 meters long extended from her shoulders. She flew high into the sky and stared at the white tiger blade in horror. Wang Daoyuan put the white tiger blade back into his dantian, and the aura of the white tiger blade also disappeared. The clansmen on the mountain also calmed down. Yuni understood that the murderous aura was emitted by her master's Dharma artifact. She landed on the rock and continued to bask in the sun. Wang Daoyuan heaved a sigh of relief. I've finally learned the basics of the white tiger sword intent. The gray mist sword condensed in his purple mansion was the embryonic form of the white tiger sword intent. After comprehending the sword intent, he could merge the gray mist sword into the white tiger blade, and it would have an extremely good nurturing effect. After comprehending the sword intent, even if he didn't use the white tiger blade, the power of his sword attack would increase by a lot. In the future, his understanding of the white tiger sword intent would gradually deepen, and the gray mist sword would become clearer and bigger. Only when it was exactly the same as the white tiger blade would he be considered to have comprehended the sword intent to the peak. The white tiger sword intent that he comprehended was compatible with the white tiger blade. The comprehension of the white tiger sword intent was also extremely beneficial to his comprehension of the white tiger's charm. At this time, his control of the white tiger blade was also much stronger. Although he still hadn't reached the level where he could communicate with his natal magic weapon and move the sword at will like Zhou Wan, he still didn't need to use his divine sense to control it. But when he controlled the white tiger blade, the consumption of his divine sense was reduced by more than half, and he was also much closer to the level where he could move the sword at will. He used the Earth Mountain technique to patch up the hole that the white tiger blade pierced through the roof of the cave. Then he left the cave and returned to the Jade Spring Peak on his sword. Fifth Great Uncle had sent him a message saying that the Netherworld sect already knew about his purple mansion. After that, he still had to ask Fifth Great Uncle to recommend him to become an elder of the Netherworld sect. After obtaining the sect master's approval, he still had to go to the Netherworld sect to confer the title of elder. He already had the position of the Tool Refining Hall's steward. After being conferred the title of elder, he might have to take up a position in the Tool Refining Hall, and he would have fewer opportunities to travel in the future. This matter couldn't be avoided. If he didn't obey the Netherworld sect's arrangements, it would be a rebellion. After returning to the Jade Spring Peak, he used his divine sense to scan the area and found that Fifth Great Uncle was staying in the 12th Uncle's cave. The 12th Uncle was holding 2 jade slips and reading them. Sensing that Wang Daoyuan had returned, Fifth Great Uncle transmitted a message: "Daoyuan, your 12th Uncle has comprehended the Purple Mansion realm and can start to break through at any time. Since you're back, go control the Black Tortoise water-repelling formation to prevent anyone from destroying it. Your Aunt Zhou's cultivation isn't enough, so it's difficult for her to unleash the Black Tortoise water-repelling formation strength. Shui and I both cultivate the art of overturned sea, so it's more suitable for me to guard him." Wang Daoyuan replied, "Just let Aunt Zhou control the formation. If anyone dares to come looking for trouble, I'll use his head to test my white tiger blade." After saying that, he went straight into the cave and took out the yin-yang purple jade and the mystic ice chalcedony. He handed them to the 12th Uncle and said, "I obtained this yin-yang purple jade when I was traveling outside. I've already opened the Purple Mansion realm, so it's useless to keep it. Although you probably won't need it with your talent, it's safer to take it. There's also the mystic ice chalcedony. With this, it'll be easier to pass the inner demon tribulation." Chapter 387. Wang Shui didn't refuse and took the yin-yang purple jade and the profound ice jade essence. "I won't be polite with you. I owe you too much and you don't need me to pay you back. From now on, I'll sell my life to you and let you do whatever you want." Wang Daoyuan smiled. "Why would I want your life? I just hope that more people in the family can cultivate to the Violet Palace realm or even the Golden Core realm. I don't want to have no one by my side after a few hundred years." After saying that, he followed Fifth Great Uncle out of the cave. At this time, the entire Jade Spring Peak was shrouded in a blue light screen and the Black Tortoise's projection had already appeared in the sky. Fifth Great Uncle stood guard at the entrance of the cave while Wang Daoyuan sat cross-legged on the north bank of the Jade Dragon Spring. The white tiger blade had already been summoned and placed horizontally on his knees. The white tiger blade didn't have the slightest fluctuation of spiritual power and looked like an ordinary iron sword. In front of him was a short table about a foot long. On the table was a teapot and 4 teacups. 2 hours later, a burst of spiritual sense fluctuation came from the 12th Uncle's cave. Soon, a purple light began to appear in the sky above the cave. When the Violet Palace was opened, the purple light was particularly dazzling. Moreover, this purple light was extremely attractive to demon beasts. The Jade Spring Peak was about 2,000 miles away from the outer boundary of the Heavenly/Mountain Range. Although it was impossible for terrestrial demon beasts to see the purple light, it wasn't necessarily the case for demon beasts. An hour later, a second-rank high-grade eagle-type demon beast appeared in the eastern sky and flew towards the Jade Spring Peak. The demon beast was extremely fast and was only 3 to 4 miles away from the Jade Spring Peak in a short time. Antgio had already controlled the black tortoise's projection and was ready to attack. Wang Daoyuan didn't even look at the demon beast and raised the teacup to his mouth with his right hand. He gently brushed the white tiger blade with his left hand and a dazzling silver sword ray flew out. In order to avoid disturbing the 12th uncle, the white tiger blade didn't emit any aura. The sword ray flashed, but the white tiger blade was still like an ordinary iron sword, simple and unadorned. The sword ray passed through the demon beast's body and continued to fly forward until it was more than 10 miles away from Wang Daoyuan before it completely dissipated. After being pierced through by the sword beam, the demonic bird continued to fly towards the Jade Spring Peak for over 100 meters. Then, its body split into 2 halves and fell down. At this moment, the teacup in his right hand had just reached his mouth. Releasing the power of his divine sense, he controlled the water spiritual power of the defensive light shield and wrote in the air, "Trespassers shall die." Around the Jade Spring Peak, there were quite a few loose cultivators who were watching. After all, they didn't have any experience in establishing their violet palaces, so they could only grab this rare opportunity to watch other cultivators establish their violet palaces. This was also an important way for them to understand the Violet Palace realm. Seeing that Wang Daoyuan had killed a rank 2 upper-rank demonic beast in the time it took to drink tea, the rogue cultivators were all frightened. He consciously retreated 10 miles away from Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan's sword light had a killing range of 5 kilometers. If they continued to stay within that range, they would not feel safe. A rogue cultivator said, "Rumor has it that Wang Daoyuan of the Wang family has opened his Violet Palace and is extremely powerful. A few days ago, at the eastern shore of the 100 River Lake, he fought with a rank 3 lower-grade golden-patterned tiger and killed it. I thought it was just a rumor, but today I learned that the rumor was true." Another 9th-layer Foundation establishment cultivator said, "Rumor has it that he used the golden-patterned tiger to cultivate. He only used the projection of a divine white tiger to fight with it for 2 hours. Later, when other rank 3 demonic beasts approached, he killed the golden-patterned tiger in 10 breaths of time. His strength far surpasses that of ordinary rank 3 lower-grade demonic beasts. I'm afraid he isn't inferior to an ordinary mid-Violet Palace realm cultivator." Everyone deeply agreed, and once again retreated a certain distance. Not long after, the 2 of them came from the south, one in front and one behind on their swords. Seeing that the rogue cultivators outside the Jade Spring Peak didn't dare to approach, the 2 of them also didn't continue forward. Riding his sword behind the rogue cultivators, he said with a smile, "I'm Yang Yong, the guardian of the Clear Glaze Market. I heard that someone from the Wang family has opened his Violet Palace and came to protect you." Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Thank you for coming to protect me, Ancestor Yang. Please come in for a chat." Yang Yong naturally knew that he was just being polite. He waved his hand and said, "There's no need to be so polite. The Wang family has 2 Violet Palace realm guardians. It won't be too late for me to enter after little friend Shui successfully opens his Violet Palace." A middle-aged cultivator followed behind Yang Yong. It was Yang Yulan. At this moment, Yang Yulan's cultivation was already at the 9th layer of Foundation establishment. Even Yang Yong was polite, so the other rogue cultivators didn't dare to be impudent and retreated a distance. 4 hours later, the purple light condensed into a purple sphere the size of a dragon's eye. The sphere absorbed the purple light and continuously grew bigger. When it reached a diameter of 7.5 inches, it stopped growing. The 12th uncle's talent was extremely good. Logically speaking, he should have been able to open his Violet Palace when he was 100 years old. Wang Daoyuan thought that something went wrong with his cultivation, but now it seemed that it was due to his accumulation. When many heavenly spiritual roots opened their violet palace, their violet palace's embryonic form was only a little more than 7 inches. The size of the violet palace's embryonic form had a huge impact on the cultivation of the violet palace realm. At this moment, a pure black water spiritual energy appeared out of nowhere and turned into a black dragon. The black dragon coiled around the violet palace and let out a dragon's roar. In the jade dragon spring, the clear river carps jumped out of the water and bowed to the dragon. Wang Daoyuan noticed that a second-grade clear river carp was less than 2 feet long. He recalled what his grandfather told him before his death. The dragonfish's predecessor was a second-grade clear river carp that was only a foot long. This clear river carp was also extraordinary and might be a variant. He scanned the outside with his spiritual sense and felt relieved when he saw that everyone's attention was on the Violet Palace's phenomenon. He no longer paid attention to the clear river carp since he wasn't afraid of it running away in his own territory. Outside the array, Yang Yong said, "Legend has it that Taoist master Yuchuan's Violet Palace's phenomenon is a black water dragon. For little friend Shui to have such a phenomenon, his future is limitless." It said that Taoist master Yuchuan's embryonic form was only 6 inches long, far inferior to this 7.5-inch violet palace. It seems that little friend Shui's foundation is even more solid than Taoist master Yuchuan's. The black dragon gradually shrunk and turned into dragon patterns that were engraved on the violet palace's embryonic form. Soon after, a human-shaped gray mist ball walked out of the cave. It gradually shrunk to 7.5 inches tall and walked towards the Violet Palace. It arrived in front of the Violet Palace and sat down cross-legged. The 12th uncle had been unrestrained his entire life and wasn't interested in fame and fortune. It was difficult for such a person to have an inner demon. The inner demon tribulation shouldn't be a problem for him, not to mention that he had the profound ice jade essence. As expected, the grey mist figure stood up and walked towards the Violet Palace in less than 10 breaths of time after sitting down. A door opened in the Violet Palace and the grey mist figure entered. Such a short and powerless inner demon tribulation was truly rare. After the grey mist figure entered the Violet Palace, the violet light disappeared and the Violet Palace slowly descended. A white-haired Peak Foundation establishment cultivator in the crowd sighed. 100 years ago, the Wang clan was still a foundation establishment clan with only one foundation establishment cultivator. There was a strong enemy, the Liang clan, suppressing them from the outside. The clan also couldn't make ends meet and had to rely on selling properties to survive. Everyone felt that the Wang clan wouldn't last for long. Now, the Wang clan has 3 violet palaces and a large number of properties in the Sky Beheading Mountain range. On the contrary, the once prosperous Liang clan was reduced to a foundation establishment clan. The high banks are valleys and the deep valleys are mausoleums. The affairs of the world are truly unpredictable. 6 hours later, a powerful wave of divine sense swept out. This wave of divine sense already surpassed the majority of early Zifu realm cultivators. This was a sign that the soul had been nurtured into a divine soul. Soon after, a water-blue whirlpool of spiritual chi with a diameter of 300 feet appeared in the sky above the 12th uncle's cave. 4 hours later, the whirlpool disappeared. The 12th uncle walked out of the cave and cupped his hands towards Yang Yong in the sky. "Elder Yang, thank you for coming to protect me. Please come in for a chat." After watching the show, the rogue cultivators didn't stay any longer and dispersed. Aunt Gio also closed the black tortoise water warding formation. Yang Yong brought Yang Yulin to the Jade Dragon Spring. Chapter 388. Wang Daoyuan put away the tea table and tea set, then followed 5th granduncle and 12th uncle to welcome Yang Yong and Yang Yulin into the auditorium. The 5 of them took their seats. 5th great uncle cupped his hands and said, "Thank you, Elder Yang, for coming to protect us." A Ming generation junior brought several cups of tea over. Yang Yong received the teacup and said with a smile, "I'm afraid that even I, a middle-stage Zifu realm cultivator, am no match for Daoyuan's strength." Given that he also had the black tortoise water drive formation, even if a late-stage Zifu disciple came to cause trouble, he wouldn't be able to affect Shui in establishing his Zifu. This old man merely brought Yulin along to watch the show. After saying that, he picked up the teacup and took a sip. He sighed and said, "In just 100 years, the Wang clan has already become so prosperous. I'm already over 460 years old, and I'm nearing the end of my life." Among the younger generation, only Yulin and Yuhu had the potential to establish the Violet Palace. Jade Tiger's temperament was as fiery as fire. He was not the type to take on heavy responsibilities. Right now, Yulin is only at the 9th level of the Foundation establishment realm. I wonder if I'll be able to see him establish his Violet Palace. After I pass away, I hope that the Wang family will take good care of the Yang family on account of the 400 years of friendship between the two families. The 12th uncle smiled and said, "Senior Yang, what are you talking about? If it weren't for Senior Yang's mediation back then, I'm afraid my Wang clan would have already perished. For the past few hundred years, my Wang family has been bullied by outsiders, but it's all thanks to the Yang family's protection. If it wasn't for the Yang family, the Wang family wouldn't be where it was today. I'm still the patriarch, so I can give Senior Yang a guarantee. The Yang family didn't let down the Wang family, and the Wang family didn't let down the Yang family." Hearing this, Yang Yong's face was full of smiles. His purpose in coming was to get this guarantee. Wang Daoyuan also comforted him, "Old ancestor Yang, cousin Yulin's talent is outstanding. He should be able to establish his Violet Palace within the next 20 years. It shouldn't be a problem for the Yang clan to have 2 Zifu mansions." Hearing this, Yang Yong was overjoyed. He probed, "Among the Yang family's Yu generation, there is still Yuqing who is quite talented. She is the niece of Daoyuan's mother's mortal family and is also Daoyuan's cousin. Now, she has also successfully built her foundation." This old man is not boasting, but even if Yuqing's appearance cannot be considered to be devastatingly beautiful, she is still 1 in a million. I wonder if Yuan is interested in marriage? Wang Daoyuan had indeed seen Yang Yuqing before. When his parents passed away, she and Yang Yulin came to pay their respects. She was indeed a heavenly beauty. Among all the women Wang Daoyuan had seen, her appearance was second only to Zhou Wan. However, Wang Daoyuan had no intention of marrying her. When he broke through to the Violet Palace realm, he had already confirmed that he had the acquired 5 elemental spiritual physique. After that, more than half of the connate 5 elements chi was sucked away by the spiritual pearl, and he became an acquired spiritual body. When he was young, his cultivation speed was fast. Later on, his comprehension ability was extremely strong. This was also because of his acquired spiritual body. Although the acquired spirit body did not have much effect on one's cultivation speed, it was still a special constitution. With the help of his innate 5 elemental qi, Ling Zhu had opened up a space within Ling Zhu. He had lost his 5 elemental spirit body, but gained an inexhaustible supply of resources. It was hard to say what he had gained or lost. The formation of the golden core was the process of the fusion of the essence, energy, and spirit. In other words, it was the fusion of the qi and blood in the physical body with the cultivated true yuan. If he kept his primordial yang physique, his qi and blood would be more abundant, and it would be more beneficial for the formation of the golden core. Not to mention that he had the acquired spiritual physique, the primordial yang physique. It would take him at least 100 years to reach the pinnacle of the Violet Palace realm. At that time, Yang Yuqing would not have much lifespan left, so what was the point of marrying her? However, it was suitable for his 3rd brother to marry Yang Yuqing. After his 12th uncle established the Violet Palace realm, he would definitely focus on cultivation. So his third brother would naturally be the patriarch. Since the two clans were connected, the marriage between the Wang clan's new patriarch and the Yang clan was also a good choice. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands together. Ancestor Yang, I feel that I still have hopes of forming the golden core, so I won't get married for the time being. My third brother has outstanding talent, and he has been busy with the clan's affairs ever since he reached the foundation establishment realm. But he's still in the 8th stage of the foundation establishment realm, so there's a high chance that he will establish the Violet Palace realm. Second brother had already taken the knife for him. They were both his brothers, so he couldn't favor one and discriminate against the other. This time, he would let his third brother take the knife for him. Moreover, second brother already had 4 children. The 2 oldest were cultivators, the third didn't have a spirit root, and the youngest was just born. He was very satisfied with his married life, so Wang Daoyuan didn't cheat him. Now, the Wang clan had many foundation establishment cultivators. In the future, there would be many younger brothers and nephews who would also reach the foundation establishment realm. There was also big brother Wang Meng's great-grandson, Wang Mingshan. With the foundation establishment pill given to him by Wang Daoyuan, he also succeeded in establishing his foundation a few years ago. Big Brother's memorial tablet also entered the ancestral shrine as he wished. He was Wang Daoyuan's great-grandnephew. Before his death, Wang Meng had entrusted Wang Daoyuan to take care of him. These matters weren't a secret. Now that he had successfully established his foundation, he was also a second-rank mid-grade pill master and was in charge of the clan's medicine hall. There were many foundation establishment clans in the northern and central parts of Qingli County who wanted to marry their daughters to him. The 12th uncle nodded and said, Dao Chang is a steady person. These years, he has also been cautious and conscientious in managing the clan's affairs. Now that I've established my purple mansion, I will focus on cultivation in the future. I won't be able to manage the clan's affairs anymore, so I plan to pass the position of clan head to him. Fifth great-uncle smiled and said, Dao Chang is indeed a good child. His cultivation talent is also above mine. What do you think, Senior Yang? Yang Yong naturally had no objections. Yang Yuqing marrying Wang Daochang was more suitable than Wang Daoyuan. Wang Daoyuan had half the bloodline of the Yang clan. Regardless of whether or not he married into the Yang clan, he would definitely be close to the Yang clan. If Wang Daochang, the future clan head, became the son-in-law of the Yang clan, he would be more useful in maintaining the relationship between the two clans. Yang Yong nodded in satisfaction and said, Dao Chang is a talented person. I naturally have no objections. How about we let the 2 children meet? If they are both willing, we can discuss a date and settle this matter. Wang Daoyuan and the other 2 didn't have any objections and quickly called Wang Daochang over. More than 2 hours later, the Yang clan's clan head, Yang Ziyuan, brought Yang Yuqing to the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daochang went out to welcome them and brought Yang Ziyuan and Yang Yuqing into the hall. After entering the hall and taking their seats, Wang Daochang and Yang Yuqing's faces were slightly red. Yang Yuqing was an outstanding beauty, and Wang Daochang's appearance wasn't bad either. In the Wang clan, he deserved to be called the number 1 in terms of appearance. Wang Daoxing had a boorish face, while Wang Daoyuan's appearance could only be considered above average, but he was rather valiant. He didn't look like a cultivator, but more like a mortal general. Especially after comprehending the White Tiger sword intent, he became even more dignified. Ordinary people didn't even have the guts to look at him directly, and he wasn't very popular with women. Third brother was clearly a fire attribute cultivator, but his appearance was somewhat feminine and his personality was very calm. He had a face that relied on women, but his talent was not bad. Wang Daoyuan and the other brothers had been especially envious of him since they were young. Seeing their expressions, fifth great-uncle smiled and said, it seems like these two juniors are interested. After Shui and Daoyuan are conferred as elders, their Violet Palace grand ceremony, Dao Chong will take over as the clan head, and Yuqing will marry into the clan. All these things will be done together. Let's have a good time. Yang Yong smiled and said, all right, then we'll set a date after Shui and Daoyuan are conferred as elders. With the Wang clan's guarantee, the marriage alliance was settled. After chatting for a while, the Yang clan's 4 people left happily. Wang Shui handed the Mystic Ice Jade Essence and Yin Yang Purple Jade to Wang Daoyuan and said proudly, with your uncle's talent, why would I need these things to establish my Violet Palace? A 7.5-inch Violet Palace and a black dragon avatar, even stronger than the old ancestor. Wang Daoyuan took the items and said with a smile, it's indeed powerful. I only have a 9-inch Violet Palace and a 5-element Divine Beast avatar. Wang Shui's face fell immediately. Just as he was about to retort, Wang Daoyuan continued, when you came out of your Violet Palace avatar, a 1-foot-long 2nd-grade clear river carp jumped out of the water and bowed to the black dragon avatar. Hearing this, the other 3 people were pleasantly surprised. They all knew about the dragon fish. 5th great-uncle and 12th uncle immediately probed the jade dragon spring with their divine senses. Chapter 389. Third brother Wang Daochong's spiritual sense was not enough, so he could not see the situation deep in the spring. 5th granduncle and 12th uncle could see clearly that the Qing River carp was only 1 foot and 5 inches long. Looking at the characteristics of the scales on this Qing River carp, it could be seen that it was not old, at most less than 30 years old. It was extremely difficult for human cultivators to grow to the 2nd level in 30 years. Moreover, most spirit beasts' cultivation speed was far slower than humans. This Qing River carp was definitely not simple, it was very likely to be a variant like the arowana. Being locked by 2 powerful spiritual senses, it was a little scared and desperately dived down. When it reached a depth of more than 150 feet, it could not go any further. With its cultivation of the 2nd level, it could only withstand this deep water pressure. If it continued to dive, it would be difficult to protect its life. 5th granduncle asked, what should we do with this thing? It's not appropriate to just ignore it. After all, according to the rules set by Elder Zhou, 80% of the Qing River carps raised by our family belong to the Netherworld sect. Now that there's a variant, if the Netherworld sect comes to ask for it, it will be difficult for us. Wang Daoyuan smiled, just catch it and let it recognize its master, then put it in the jade dragon spring to continue raising. Only the 4 of us know that the arowana is a Qing River carp, no one will care about it. If it can grow to the 2nd level, feed it the 3rd level jade dragon algae, then it will depend on its luck. If it can break through the 3rd level and show the characteristics of a dragon species, outsiders have no proof that it's the Qing River carp we raised. If it can't break through the 3rd level, then there's no need to care. Besides, we can occasionally see Qing River carps in the Qingli River these few years, so the Netherworld sect may not pay much attention to our Wang family's property. As long as we don't reveal it, it won't be a big problem. Since the Qing River carps in the space of the spiritual pearl began to breed, Wang Daoyuan often put some Qing River carps in the Qingli River and its tributaries. After so many years, he finally had some achievements. In the upper reaches of the Qingli River, he could occasionally see Qing River carps. 5th granduncle nodded and said, Dao Yuan's words are reasonable, let's do that first. Which one of you will recognize this Qing River carp as its master? Wang Daoyuan replied, let the 12th uncle do it. If this Qing River carp was really a mutated species, it might become an arowana in the future. A xenogeneic with dragon blood must have been proud and arrogant. It had jumped out of the water because of the 12th uncle's purple mansion anomaly. It would be easier for the 12th uncle to subdue it. If I were to subdue it, I would have to use force. Furthermore, I can't stay in Jade Spring Peak for too long, so I don't have much time to interact with it. In the future, when it becomes more intelligent, it might not listen to me. Besides, I'm strong enough in fights of magical powers, so I don't need it to increase my battle prowess. Just give me the carcass of the old ancestors' dragonfish when it matures. Upon hearing this, the 12th uncle was a little dissatisfied. He stood up and asked, "Do you mean that I'm not good at fighting?" Wang Daoyuan took out the white tiger blade and lightly flicked the blade with his finger. The entire blade let out a sword cry that sounded like a tiger's roar. He smiled and said, "What do you think?" Upon seeing the white tiger blade, the 12th uncle recalled the oppressive feeling that felt like a heavenly tribulation. He sat back down and said, "I don't have any objections." Wang Daoyuan executed the water dragon technique, and a 3-meter-long pitch-black water dragon was born in the Jade Dragon Spring. It swallowed the Qing River carp into its stomach and brought it into the auditorium. He put away the water dragon and handed the Qing River carp and a jade slip to the 12th uncle. He said, "I'll leave it to you." The jade slip recorded the secret method for aquatic spirit beasts to recognize their masters. After the 12th uncle read it, he began to execute the secret method on the Qing River carp. In the end, the Qing River carp kept struggling and refused to cooperate. Wang Daoyuan directly placed the white tiger blade on the Qing River carp's body and released a trace of aura. The Qing River carp immediately became obedient and allowed the 12th uncle to execute the secret method for the Qing River carp. Soon, the secret method was executed. The 12th uncle used the water dragon technique to send the Qing River carp back to the Jade Dragon Spring. Wang Daoyuan said disdainfully, "Another person who bullies the weak and fears the strong." The 12th uncle didn't react for a moment. "Why do I feel like there's a hidden meaning in your words?" The 5th uncle said with a smile, "Let's do it like this. Only the 4 of us know about this Qing River carp. I should also go to the underworld Sex Mountain Gate and recommend the 2 of you to be elders. You should also prepare to go to the mountain gate to accept the conferment." After saying this, he left the Jade Spring Peak and flew west on his sword. One day later, the 5th uncle drove a flying boat back to the Jade Spring Peak. Wang Daoyuan and the 12th uncle boarded the flying boat. The 5th uncle instructed the 3rd brother, "Activate the mountain guarding formation. Don't close it before we come back." After saying this, he drove the flying boat to the west. This kind of lower grade 3 flying boat was the standard for elders with real power. Also, only elders like 5th great uncle, who had temporary tasks, could use it. The flying boat was extremely fast. It could fly 4,500 to 600 miles in 2 hours. After a few hours, they arrived at the underworld Sex Mountain Gate. The 5th uncle put away the flying boat. The 3 of them walked through the mountain gate together and walked along the long stone steps to the conference hall. After a quarter of an hour, they arrived at the conference hall. The 5th uncle walked into the hall first and handed over the order to the sect master. Then, Luo Jiuyo ordered the 2 of them to enter the hall. After Wang Daoyuan and the 2 of them entered the hall, Luo Jiuyo said with a smile, "Shui's purple mansion has just opened. It's already 7.5 inches and there's also the black dragon vision. In time, your achievements won't be below spiritual master Yuchuan's." Wang Shui bowed and said, "I'll do my best to live up to sect master's expectations." Luo Jiuyo nodded and asked Wang Daoyuan. Daoyuan opened his purple mansion when he was traveling outside. "With your talent, you should also have a purple mansion vision. May I know how big your purple mansion is and what's your vision?" Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "My purple mansion is 6 and 7 inches. My vision is the blood-eyed golden-winged tiger, the netherwater black turtle, the jade-scaled flood dragon, the golden-feathered fire sparrow, and the yellow-maned kirin. The 5 of them were high-grade demonic beasts with a high concentration of the 5 elements bloodlines. Although the yellow-maned kirin had the name kirin, it looked similar to a kirin. However, it had yellow fur and no scales, so it couldn't be considered a real Kirin. These demonic beasts were usually called pseudo-divine beasts or half-divine beasts. They had the potential to become divine beasts. Luo Jiuyo nodded and said, "It's already not easy for a penta-spiritual roots cultivator to have a purple mansion vision. Your 5 visions are half-divine beasts. Your potential isn't inferior to Shui's. Your future accomplishments might even be above Daoist Master Yuchuan's. Wang Shui, Wang Daoyuan, listen to me." The two of them bowed and said, "We are here." Luo Jiuyo said solemnly, "Today, Wang Shui and Wang Daoyuan of the Clearglass County's Yuchuan Wang clan have established their purple mansions. Elder Wang Jian has recommended the two of them to join the Netherworld sect. I will accept Elder Wang Jian's request and accept the two of them. I will confer Wang Shui and Wang Daoyuan as elders of the Netherworld sect. I hope the two of you will do your best to serve the sect." The two of them immediately bowed and said, "We will do our best to serve the sect." Luo Jiuyo nodded in satisfaction and said, "Confer Wang Shui and Wang Daoyuan the sect's elder medallion and a 3rd-grade low-grade flying sword." Then, 2 late-stage Violet Mansion realm elders each took a long sword and a medallion and handed it to the two of them. The two of them received the medallion and long sword and bowed again, "Thank you, sect master." Luo Jiuyo waved his hand and said, "There's no need to be so courteous. Shui has just established his purple mansion and shouldn't have refined his natal magic artifact yet. He will nurture his natal magic artifact first and won't take up a position in the sect for now." Dao Yuan was previously the manager of the Weapon Refining Hall and had been the manager of the Weapon Refining Hall for 5 years. Before he established his purple mansion, he couldn't be appointed as an official manager according to the sect's rules. Now that he has established his purple mansion, it's time for him to take up a position in the refining hall. Although Wang Daoyuan was unwilling, he didn't dare to resist and could only bow and accept the matter. Just as he was about to speak, a lethargic cultivator stood up and said, "Sect Master, this can't be done." Chapter 390. Everyone in the hall looked at this old man. His spirit energy seemed to be at the peak of the Zifu realm, but it fluctuated between strong and weak. Wang Daoyuan almost couldn't detect the presence of qi and blood on his body. His skin was dull and lifeless. His head full of white hair appeared dry and withered, unlike the silvery or jade-like luster of an older cultivator. All signs indicated that this person didn't have long to live. Although his cultivation was at the peak of the Zifu realm, forming a golden core required sufficient qi and blood. And this person's qi and blood were already exhausted, his spirit energy was unstable, and he probably didn't have much true essence left. Unless there was a legendary heavenly treasure that could rejuvenate one's youth. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't be able to form a golden core. His position in the hall was closer to the front, only below the hall masters. Only Elder Jean could have enmity towards him and didn't have much time left. Wang Daoyuan had seen him before, during the duel between the two sects over the Spirit Stone Mine. At that time, he had fought with 2 peak Zifu realm cultivators of the Cruel Sun Palace, defeating one and seriously injuring the other. He could be said to be in high spirits. Now that he had aged to such an extent, Wang Daoyuan actually couldn't recognize him. Luo Jiuyo asked, "May I know why Elder Jean doesn't want Daoyuan to take up a post in the tool forging hall?" Elder Jean replied, "According to the rules of the sect, after the cultivators of the subordinate clans establish their Zifu realms, they will first take up a post as an elder without any duties, and then take up a post as a guardian of the various businesses. Those who have made contributions will be promoted to steward of the various halls. Even Elder Zhou Qi, a direct disciple of the sect, was sent out as a guardian of the clear glass market, and only then did he enter the guardian hall as a steward. Although Wang Daoyuan has made many contributions, the sect master has also rewarded him with many things. Since he has already been rewarded for his contributions, it's not appropriate to make an exception and promote him. I believe that it's better to let Wang Daoyuan take up the post of an elder without any duties. When there are vacancies, he will take up the post of a guardian. After making contributions, he will enter the tool forging hall as a steward. It's more in line with the rules. Hearing this, Wang Daoyuan was moved. Elder Jin was really a good person. He didn't want to enter the tool forging hall, and his words were of great help. He was happy, but he couldn't show it on his face. He looked at Elder Jin with a furious expression. As soon as Elder Jin said this, the elders from the foreign faction all agreed. Some of the native elders also expressed their agreement. Without the expansion of the Netherworld sect's territory, there were only so many positions for stewards and guardians in each palace. Today, they would make an exception to promote one person, and tomorrow, they would make an exception to promote another person. Where would they put the rest of the elders who had worked for 100 or 200 years without any duties? The exceptional promotion had jeopardized the interests of many elders with no duties and even the guardian envoys. Luo Jiuyo didn't know how to deal with the objections of many elders. This matter started because of Wang Daoyuan, so he naturally had to give Luo Jiuyo a way out. He bowed and said, "Sect Master, I've done some minor service previously, and you've already rewarded me heavily. Don't break the sect's rules because of me." Hallmaster Gu also said, "In my opinion, why don't we keep Elder Wang Daoyuan's position as the supervisor of the Craftsmanship Hall and temporarily not take up a post in the Craftsmanship Hall? If the Weapon Forging Hall lacks manpower in the future, it won't be too late to conscript him." Wang Daoyuan and Hallmaster Gu gave Luo Jiuyo a way out, so he naturally had to take advantage of it. It wasn't worth it to intensify the internal conflict for such a small matter. He nodded and said, "Then we'll do as Hallmaster Gu said. Wang Daoyuan will keep his position as the supervisor of the Craftsmanship Hall, but he doesn't need to take up a post in the Craftsmanship Hall. If there's a need in the future, he can be conscripted. Daoyuan, since you can't be an official supervisor, I have to give you some compensation. If you have any other requests, don't hesitate to mention them." This was equivalent to giving him an empty title. He had status and treatment, but no real power. This was the most in line with his wishes. He could get benefits without having to work. Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "Sect Master, I've killed a golden-striped tiger before, and I've kept the demon pill. I want to refine the Foundation Establishment pill by myself, and I sincerely ask for your permission." As far as Wang Daoyuan knew, the Netherworld sect didn't have a rule forbidding the affiliated families from refining the Foundation Establishment pill. However, the control of the Foundation Establishment pill was very strict. If they refined the Foundation Establishment pill once or twice without notifying, it would be fine. However, if they refined the pill too many times, they would be going against the Netherworld sect. The Wang family didn't dare to take the lead. As long as they got the permission to refine the Foundation Establishment pill this time, it would be reasonable for the Wang family to take out more Foundation Establishment pills in the future. Luo Jiuyo thought for a moment and asked, "Is there a precedent for this in the sect?" The Hall Master of the Guardian Hall stood up and replied, "Sect Master, there is no precedent for this." Zhao had experienced a series of battles before. The old family lost almost all of their cultivators at the Zifu realm and above, and no one had the ability to easily kill a third-rank demonic beast. The Netherworld sect had true origin fruit trees, and they had also destroyed the major families of Zhao and seized some. There was no need to provoke third-rank demonic beasts. Therefore, no family had openly hunted demonic beasts to refine the Foundation Establishment pill in these years. However, before the last beast tide, Zhao was one of the top 3 countries in the world, and there were countless fierce people. There were many cultivators who dared to hunt third-rank demonic beasts to refine the Foundation Establishment pill. The Wang family's ancestor was the most vicious when he killed demonic beasts to refine the pill. When the royal family of Zhao was still alive, they had always let them do whatever they wanted. Later, in order to prevent the old families from rebelling, the three major sects had always been strict about the foundation establishment pill. Although Wang Daoyuan's request was a small matter, it was related to the future policy of the Netherworld sect. If Wang Daoyuan was allowed to refine the foundation establishment pill, there would be others who would follow suit. The Netherworld sect's control over the foundation establishment pill would also be weakened. However, it was not a solution to keep forbidding it. The way to obtain the foundation establishment pill was here, and it was impossible for the Netherworld sect to completely block it. If they were not allowed to refine it openly, there would naturally be people who would refine it secretly. If they refined the foundation establishment pill openly, they could at least control it. If they refined it secretly, they would not even have the chance to control it. Luo Jiuyo asked, "Elders, what do you think about killing demonic beasts to refine the foundation establishment pill?" The elders expressed their opinions one after another, and the native elders strongly opposed it. They did not lack foundation establishment pills and could cultivate a large number of foundation establishment cultivators to control the Netherworld sect. Naturally, they did not want the affiliated families to have more foundation establishment pills and cultivate more cultivators to compete with them for power. The foreign families and the family families had the same attitude, which was unprecedented, and they strongly supported it. After all, it was related to the future of their families. Luo Jiuyo then asked Wang Daoyuan, "Daoyuan, you raised the question. What do you think?" Wang Daoyuan thought for a long time and said, "Sect Master, I think it's better to let it go. Instead of banning it completely and forcing some people to refine it secretly, it's better to restrict it conditionally. For example, for every batch of foundation establishment pills refined, the sect can buy a part of it at a fair price. The remaining part will be handled by the families who refined the pills themselves." Luo Jiuyo asked, "Elders, what do you think?" This could be considered a compromise. Both sides would have the opportunity to obtain more building foundation pills, so there were not many people who objected. Luo Jiuyo nodded and said, "In that case, we'll follow Dao Yuan's suggestion. Allow the families to collect materials and refine the foundation establishment pills. For every batch of foundation establishment pills, the sect will buy 2 at the price of 50,000 spirit stones each. Those who refine without telling the sect will be punished severely." Everyone agreed in unison. Luo Jiuyo said with a smile, "Since the foundation establishment pills have become a sect rule, it can't be considered as compensation to Dao Yuan. Since I said I would compensate him, I can't go back on my words. Let's do it this way. In the future, the Wang family will be allowed to refine flying boats of no more than 20 feet in length, and the speed will not be limited. However, they are not allowed to refine flying warships, nor are they allowed to sell flying boats to other forces." Wang Daoyuan, 5th granduncle, and 12th uncle hurriedly bowed and said, "We'll follow sect master's orders." Although Luo Jiuyo's compensation did not require them to pay anything, the value of this compensation was too high for the Wang family. By removing the speed limit of flying boats, the Wang family could expand their business to the southern part of Qingli County and even other counties. The length limit was also not a problem. At most, they could refine the flying boats to be wider. Chapter 391. Luo Jiuyo smiled. According to the sect's rules, an elder with authority can be given a grade 3 flying boat. Although you won't be taking up a position in the sect, you'll still receive the same treatment as a manager of the refining hall. Coincidentally, I'll leave the flying boat that Elder Wang Jian is using to you." Wang Daoyuan thanked Luo Jiuyo again and the three returned to the Jade Spring Peak. Aside from the sect's elder medallion, Luo Jiuyo and the 12th uncle each received a low-grade grade 3 flying sword. The 12th uncle's flying sword was of the water attribute, while Luo Jiuyo's flying sword was of the metal attribute. It was called the Baleful Life Severing Sword. When this magic artifact was refined, some baleful gold was added, causing the entire magic artifact to emit a strong baleful aura. The baleful life-severing sword was a rare offensive magic artifact in the hands of an ordinary Violet Palace realm cultivator. Nothing can be considered water when one has crossed the sea, and nothing can be considered clouds when one has crossed the Wu Mountain. After obtaining the White Tiger Blade, other flying swords of the metal attribute were no longer pleasing to the eye. This flying sword was just a dispensable substitute. The Violet Palace realm's grand ceremony, Patriarch's Ascension, and Patriarch's marriage were set to be held 3 months later. After all, there were a lot of things to prepare for when all 4 of them were done at the same time. The third brother, Wang Daochang, was in charge of these matters. The 3 Violet Palace realm cultivators didn't need to worry about the other elders. Luo Jiuyo continued to modify the dragonfish's natal artifact, while the 12th uncle began to refine his own profound dragon seatfall sword. The materials required to refine the profound dragon seatfall sword didn't require much effort. Luo Jiuyo had collected plenty of materials in the past, ranging from the low-grade grade 3 to the high-grade grade 4. The 12th uncle wouldn't lack materials even if he refined his natal artifact to the high-grade grade 4. Even Wang Daoyuan felt a wave of envy. This was the same benefit as the ancestors' Violet Palace phenomenon. Now that he had obtained the Netherworld sect's permission to refine the Foundation Establishment Pill, there was no need to keep the golden-striped tiger's corpse. Although a third-grade demonic beast's body wouldn't rot after a few decades, its spiritual energy would slowly drain away. Luo Jiuyo's residence's Luo Jiuyo's natal artifact. Previously, when he had killed him, he had used the soul-extinguishing bell to injure his soul and used the sword qi to injure his internal organs. Hu Pai was also beaten black and blue by the White Tiger Blade Dharma idol. However, the tiger skin was not damaged. If it was mended, it could still be used for refining weapons. Its inner core and tiger bone were perfectly preserved, but its internal organs were damaged and its blood essence was lost. When hunting rank 3 demonic beasts, one could use their Niden to replace the true elemental fruit and blood essence to replace the blood jade ginseng. If he ran out of essence blood, he could just use the blood jade ginseng. He did not lack this thing. In the space of the spirit pearl, he had already collected 6 batches of true essence fruits, and there were even more blood jade ginseng. In the past few years, he had refined quite a few building foundation dawn. Using the true essence fruit to refine, his success rate had reached 80%. Now that it was the inner core of a demonic beast, it was hard to say. A demonic beast's inner core contained a lot of impurities, such as remnant soul essences, a small amount of blood essence, and some blood stains. It needed to go through several processes before it could be used to refine pills. Apart from the Zhenyuan fruit tree, the family had planted all the other Foundation Establishment pills and spiritual herbs, so the Netherworld sect couldn't say anything. After all, Wang Daoyuan would go to the heaven/mountain range when he had nothing to do. Although the blood jade ginseng and the dragon crouching vine were rare, they were not to the extent of being hard to find in 1,000 years like the true essence fruit tree. As long as one dared to go deep into the heaven/mountain range, it was not impossible for a late-stage Foundation Establishment cultivator to find these 2 spiritual herbs after a few decades. Although there was an additional process of processing the inner core, Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense was strong and there were no problems. A cauldron of Foundation Establishment pills was quickly refined, and 7 pills were produced, which was still considered normal. Before opening the cauldron, Wang Daoyuan reported to Yang Yong that he was going to refine the Foundation Establishment pill. Now that the refinement was completed, he still had to report the results. The Netherworld sect's ability to keep secrets was a little low. On the second day after Wang Daoyuan reported the results of the refinement, several family heads came to visit, including the Shen family of Alchemy Celestial Mountain in the central part of Qingli County. Yang Yong personally came to get the 2 pills that he needed to sell to the Netherworld sect, and he also brought Yang Ziyuan along. Yang Yulin was originally the successor of the Yang family and should have inherited the position of patriarch long ago. Now, in order to let him cultivate properly, Yang Yong did not let him take the position of patriarch, and prioritized cultivation. If there were any matters, it was still Yang Ziyuan, the old patriarch who was nearing the end of his life, who rushed back and forth. Liang Jiaxing also came to the Wang family in the name of visiting his daughter. Wang Daochang led everyone to the auditorium, where Wang Daoyuan received everyone. After everyone was seated, Wang Daoyuan said with a smile, "I presume that all the family heads are here for the foundation establishment pill. This Wang is untalented and only refined 7 foundation establishment pills this time. According to the new rules of the Netherworld sect, 2 of them need to be sold to the sect at a fair price. The Wang family will keep 2, and the other 3 can be exchanged." Hearing this, everyone's eyes lit up. Of these 3 foundation establishment pills to be exchanged, 2 would definitely belong to the Yang family and the 2 families. Needless to say, the Yang family had hundreds of years of friendship with the Wang family, and the 2 families had always been connected by marriage. Wang Daoyuan was half a Yang family member, and the Yang family's Yang Yuqing was going to marry the next patriarch of the Wang family. Even old ancestor Yang came personally, who dared to compete with him. The Liang family also had a marriage alliance with the Wang family, and a foundation establishment cultivator was married into the Wang family. It was reasonable to leave 1 foundation establishment pill for the Liang family. Moreover, the Liang family still had 6 foundation establishment cultivators. This strength was second only to the Wang and Yang families in the north and central parts of Qingli County. The others still had a chance to compete for the 3rd foundation establishment pill. Saying so, Wang Daoyuan took out 2 jade boxes and handed them to Yang Yong, saying, "These are the 2 foundation establishment pills sold to the sect at a fair price, please inspect them, old ancestor Yang." Yang Yong did not even look at them, and put away the jade boxes, and handed a storage bag to Wang Daoyuan, saying with a smile, "I don't trust others, but how can I not trust my own descendants?" Then, Wang Daoyuan took out 3 more jade boxes, saying, "These 3 foundation establishment pills will be exchanged by the various patriarchs." The others looked at Yang Ziyuan, and he cupped his hands, saying, "The Yang family is willing to pay 60,000 spirit stones for 1 foundation establishment pill." Wang Daoyuan naturally had no objections, and nodded. Wang Daochang handed a jade box to Yang Ziyuan, and took the storage bag that Yang Ziyuan handed over. Liang Jiaxing used 70,000 spirit stones to exchange for the 2nd foundation establishment pill. After the exchange between the 2 families, the remaining foundation establishment pill was up to the other families to compete. The various patriarchs were also very tactful, and knew that they were not qualified to compete with the Yang and Liang families, so they naturally did not dare to take out spirit stones. Now, the Wang family's net income was 200,000 to 300,000 spirit stones a year. Wang Daoyuan had already received 230,000 spirit stones for this cauldron of foundation establishment pills. Foundation establishment pills were a scarce resource, and naturally could not be exchanged for spirit stones. Some of these patriarchs took out magic artifacts, some took out spirit talismans, and some took out spells and the like. There were also some who took out precious refining materials. Unfortunately, none of them could enter Wang Daoyuan's eyes. Alchemy Celestial Mountain Shen family's patriarch, Shen Hongchuan, cupped his hands and said, "Elder Wang, this junior's ancestor once obtained a refining method for a level 3 spirit talisman. It's just that the Shen family does not have a level 3 spirit talisman inheritance, and no one can refine it. This spirit talisman refining method has always been kept. This time, I'm willing to use this spirit talisman refining method to exchange for foundation establishment pills. I only hope that after Elder Wang refines the spirit talisman, you can sell a few to my Shen family." Wang Daoyuan was immediately interested. Since Shen Hongchuan was so serious, then this level 3 spirit talisman was definitely not a basic spirit talisman. He asked, I wonder what Patriarch Shen's spirit talisman is called, and which faction it belongs to. When Shen Hongchuan heard this, he knew that Wang Daoyuan was tempted, and immediately replying Elder Wang, this spirit talisman is of the magic talisman lineage, called the Golden Lightning Demon Exterminating Talisman. Everyone present sucked in a breath of cold air. Even if they did not know the Tao of spirit communication talismans, they still had some understanding of spirit talisman lineage. Magic talismans had the greatest explosive power, and their refining materials were the simplest. Although they could not be used repeatedly, they were the simplest to refine. And this Golden Lightning Demon Exterminating Talisman, one could tell that it was a lightning talisman from its name. The power of lightning talismans had always been ranked first among spirit talismans of the same level. To a Foundation Establishment family clan, a low-grade level 3 lightning talisman could completely be used as a clan-suppressing treasure. Chapter 392. Magic talismans could be refined with ordinary talisman paper. Wang Daoyuan didn't lack talisman paper, spirit ink, or talisman brushes. After learning the refining method of the Golden Thunder Demon Destroying Talisman, he could quickly refine it. Any kind of third-rank thunder talisman of the magic talisman lineage was much stronger than the basic 5 elements godly sword talisman. Wang Daoyuan smiled. If your refining method of the Golden Thunder Demon Destroying Talisman is complete, you can exchange it for a Foundation Establishment pill. In the future, I can sell you 5 talismans. Overjoyed, Shen Hongchuan hurriedly replied, this refining method is indeed complete. There are all kinds of refining methods from 3rd rank low grade to 3rd rank high grade. It didn't matter whether he had the refining method of 3rd rank high grade talismans or not. There wasn't much difference between 3rd rank low grade and 3rd rank high grade talismans. As long as he knew the refining method of 3rd rank low grade talismans, he could deduce the refining method of 3rd rank high grade talismans. Of course, it was even better to have it. He could save a lot of time. Wang Daochang took out a jade box and handed it to Shen Hongchuan. Shen Hongchuan also took out 3 jade slips and handed them to Wang Daoyuan through Wang Daochang. Wang Daoyuan took out a jade slip and used his spiritual sense to read the information inside. He nodded and said, there's no problem with this thing. It's indeed the refining method of 3rd rank thunder talismans. After the 3 Foundation Establishment pills were exchanged, a Foundation Establishment cultivator asked, may I ask Elder Wang, if we collect the materials to refine the Foundation Establishment pills ourselves, can we ask Senior to help us refine them? Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, as long as I'm free, I can help you refine them. I can do it for free, but no matter how many Foundation Establishment pills are produced, I'll only give you 5 at most. The rest belong to me. The 2 pills that the Netherworld sect bought at a fair price are also among the 5 pills. If there are no more than 5 pills, I won't take any. Even if a cauldron of Foundation Establishment pills was refined from a demonic beast's inner core, the cost was only a little more than 100,000 spirit stones. As long as there were 3 Foundation Establishment pills, they could guarantee that they wouldn't suffer a loss. Wang Daoyuan agreed to give them 5 pills. If 2 were sold to the Netherworld sect, they could still get 3 Foundation Establishment pills. If it was handed over to an ordinary alchemist, it would already be considered good if they could produce 3 or 4 building foundation pills. If the Netherworld sect bought 2 of them, there would still be 1 or 2 left. Even so, the alchemist still had to charge several tens of thousands of spirit stones. It was still the most cost-effective to find Wang Daoyuan to refine pills. Wang Daoyuan was naturally very happy to help others refine pills. He didn't need to waste any effort to collect the ingredients. He only needed to process the ingredients to refine the pills. It wouldn't be a problem for him to refine a cauldron of Foundation Establishment pills a day, and he could get 2 or 3 foundation establishment pills, which were worth more than 100,000 spirit stones. Earning hundreds of thousands of spirit stones in a day was not something that all golden core cultivators could do. After the exchange of foundation establishment pills was finished, everyone dispersed. Wang Daoyuan also returned to his abode to study the Golden Thunder Demon Exterminating Talisman. This Shen Hongchuan really knew how to do business. The Shen family didn't have a rank 3 talisman master, so there was no value in keeping the refining method of the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman. He took it out to exchange for a foundation establishment pill and the right to buy 5 talismans. The Shen family could still keep a copy of the refining method, and they would not suffer any losses. As for the 5 talismans, if properly stored, it wouldn't be a problem to preserve them for 700 to 800 years. With these 5 talismans, no foundation establishment cultivator would dare to provoke the Shen family within 700 to 800 years. Of course, Wang Daoyuan also made a huge profit. Previously, he only had the refining method of rank 3 basic talismans. The Tao of talismans was already of little help to him. Now that he had the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman, he had an extremely powerful means to deal with enemies. It could also increase the family's foundation. Talismans were very similar to rank 3 talismans, but the runes were extremely complicated. It was very difficult to refine and consumed a lot of spiritual sense. With the power of Wang Daoyuan's spiritual sense, he could only refine 2 or 3 talismans a day. After trying more than 20 times, he finally succeeded in refining a Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman. He went to the west of the Jade Spring Peak, where there were few people, and tested its power. After detonating the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman, a golden lightning bolt as thick as a water bucket appeared above the talisman. When the golden lightning struck the ground, sparks flew in all directions, leaving behind a huge pit with a diameter of 300 meters and a depth of over 30 meters. There was no need to talk about the speed of the lightning technique. Those below the Violet Palace realm wouldn't be able to dodge it even if they grasped a high-grade movement art. Early Violet Palace realm cultivators also wouldn't be able to dodge the attack without a movement art. The might of the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman was roughly 20 times that of the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman. It was enough to threaten the life of an early Violet Palace realm cultivator. If a peak foundation establishment cultivator was struck by it, there was almost no chance of survival. To allow a foundation establishment clan to possess the strength to threaten a Violet Palace realm cultivator, it wouldn't be excessive to sell a talisman for 30 to 50,000 spirit stones, right? However, this item couldn't be sold in large quantities. The raw materials weren't easy to obtain. After refining a few and placing them in the clan's treasury, it would be more or less enough to be used as a trump card. 2 months quickly passed. During this period of time, Wang Daoyuan had been refining the Golden Thunder Demon Extermination Talisman. He refined 2 to 3 times a day, but only managed to refine 30 or so talismans. The success rate was less than 20%. The day of the Violet Palace grand ceremony quickly arrived. Wang Daoyuan, on the other hand, didn't need to go out to socialize. He and his 12th uncle sat in the hall. The task of receiving the guests from the Violet Palace realm was also handed over to his 5th uncle. He had to admit that his 5th uncle's idea of holding 4 joyous events at once was pretty good. He only needed to prepare once to receive 4 gifts. Since the 4 joyous events were held at once, the various factions were embarrassed to use 4 low-grade gifts to make up the numbers. There were quite a few factions that took out 3rd-grade spiritual items, and there were over a dozen factions that came to present gifts. Over 90% of the clans in the Clearglass County were present. Needless to say, the clans in the northern part of the Heian County had been doing business for many years. It was impossible for them not to come at this time. Even some of the old clans in the other counties came to present gifts. After all, The Wang clan had 3 Violet Palace realms and all of them had the potential to form a golden core. They were already the strongest among the old clans. Wang Daoyuan was only 120 years old, and he was already a steward. Furthermore, he was highly regarded by the sect master. His future was limitless. In the eyes of some of the clans, he was already the leader of the clan. On the Netherworld sect side, 3 groups of cultivators came to congratulate them. Elder Zhou Qi represented the Netherworld sect master to congratulate them. He gave over 10 violet rhythm pills and a few 3rd-grade magic artifacts. Su Tingxian represented the Refining Hall's hall master to congratulate his colleagues and also gave them 3rd-grade magic artifacts. He was recommended by Hall Master Gu and obtained the qualifications to establish a Violet Palace realm together with the old drunkard. Both of them succeeded, and Su Tingxian was now the steward of the Refining Hall. There was also the Netherworld sect's elder Luo Xianming. He was Wang Daolong's master, and he came personally to congratulate them. The gifts he gave were nothing more than 3rd-grade magic artifacts, pills, and basic 3rd-grade spiritual talismans. The other clans also sent some refining materials. Finally, a Violet Palace realm cultivator came from the Divine Weapon Pavilion. 8th Uncle announced the gift list: the Divine Weapon Pavilion's Daoist Lei Yen, 2 high-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts, 6 mid-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts, and 10 low-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts. Daoist Lei Yen was really honest. He gave out piles of magic artifacts. When the other guests heard the contents of the gift list, they were dumbfounded. A pile of 3rd-grade magic artifacts, and 2 high-grade 3rd-grade magic artifacts. 5th Uncle invited the guest into the hall. The guest cupped his hands towards Wang Daoyuan and said, "I am He Yuanqing, Daoist Lei Yan's in-name disciple. Junior brother Wang Daoyin's cultivation has reached the pinnacle of foundation establishment, and he's currently in seclusion to comprehend the Violet Palace realm. Master has ordered me to congratulate you on behalf of junior brother Daoyin." Wang Daoyuan stood up and returned the greeting, "Thank you for coming, Daoyu. Please take a seat." He Yuanqing smiled, "There's no need to be so polite. Master said that junior brother Yuan learned his refining insights and the divine sky-burning art, so he can be considered half a disciple. Junior brother Daoyin will be able to establish a Violet Palace realm in at most 8 years. When the time comes, please come to the Divine Weapon Pavilion for a gathering." When Zhou Qi and Luo Xianming heard this, their faces changed. Since Daoist Lei Yan intended to take Wang Daoyuan as his disciple, he might go to the Divine Weapon Pavilion. This would be a huge loss for the Netherworld sect. Wang Daoyuan and his brother had both entered the Divine Weapon Pavilion, and the Wang clan was the dominant clan in Clearglass County. In the future, would Clearglass County belong to the Netherworld sect or the Divine Weapon Pavilion? Chapter 393. When the other cultivators heard He Yuanqing's words, they began to ponder in their hearts. Wang Daoyin was already at the pinnacle of the foundation establishment realm and was Daoist Lei Yan's favorite disciple. He only became Daoist Lei Yan's disciple when he was in his 40s and wasted 30 years of his cultivation. Now, he was only 110 years old and was about to establish the Violet Palace. With such talent and Daoist Lei Yan's favor, it wouldn't be a problem for him to form the Golden Core. Now that Daoist Lei Yan had the intention to take Wang Daoyuan in, everyone started to have doubts. Everyone knew about Wang Daoyuan's talent. It had been 10,000 years since a penta-spiritual root cultivator formed the Golden Core. However, Wang Daoyuan was a little abnormal. He was proficient in alchemy, artifact, and talisman arrays and could establish the Violet Palace so quickly. Even the Netherworld sect master said that he had great potential and even surpassed Daoist Yuchuan. Coupled with Wang Shui, the Wang clan might have 3 Golden Core cultivators in the future. Wang Daoyuan didn't take it seriously and cupped his hands. My younger brother is naughty. Thank you for your efforts. I will definitely head to the Divine Weapon Pavilion when the time comes. With everyone present, the ceremony officially began. First was the Violet Palace Grand Ceremony. Fifth great-uncle read out a eulogy in front of the ancestral shrine and praised Wang Daoyuan and Wang Shui. Then, the two of them paid respects to their ancestors. After these procedures were completed, Wang Daoyuan and Wang Shui successively spoke of their comprehensions towards the Violet Palace realm. There were a dozen Violet Palace realm cultivators who came to congratulate them, and they also spoke about their comprehension. There were 160 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators present. A dozen Violet Palace realm cultivators spoke about the Tao, and 100 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators listened. This scene could only be seen in major sects, and it had never happened in a Violet Palace realm clan. Some of the Wang clan's juniors weren't idle either. Wang Daochang brought a few Foundation Establishment realm cultivators and 30 Qi Refinement realm cultivators to the Yang clan's Great Wood Peak. After the Tao lecture, Wang Daochang also returned. When everyone entered the hall, 5th great-uncle and 12th uncle sat on the main seats. Wang Daoyuan was the master of ceremonies, guiding the newlyweds through the ceremony. After the ceremony, the newlyweds entered the bridal chamber. Of course, the third brother, Wang Daochang, could not enter the bridal chamber so quickly. There was still the clan head handover ceremony. The patriarch handover ceremony was no different from when the 12th uncle took over. 5th great-uncle read out the eulogy, praising the 12th uncle for transforming the clan from a Foundation Establishment clan to a Violet Palace realm clan with 3 Violet Palace realm cultivators and a dozen Foundation Establishment cultivators. The 12th uncle was simply taking advantage of the situation. All these years, he had been a hands-off boss. Wang Daoyuan was the one who did most of the business. It was thanks to 5th great-uncle that they were able to clear out the 100 Spirit Mountain and take over 10% of the 100 Spirit Mountain's businesses. The specific matters were handled by the third brother, Wang Daochang. All he did was clean up the demonic beasts in Fallen Dragon Ridge. He did nothing else. After the eulogy was read out, the 12th uncle handed the Stormy Wave sword and the Patriarch's seal to Wang Daochang. The Patriarch's succession ceremony was also over. Now, there was only the banquet left. The Wang family's restaurant was famous in Qingli County. Their wine and dishes were naturally to the satisfaction of the guests. Luo Xianming and Zhou Qi, who were sitting at the front, were currently conversing with each other. Zhou Qi asked, "What do you think about Lei Yan wanting to take Wang Daoyuan as his disciple?" Luo Xianming replied, "If this succeeds, our Netherworld sect will lose a talent. If Wang Daoyuan and his brother reach the Golden Core realm in the future, our Netherworld sect will not dare to interfere with the Wang family's business. The Wang family's current business has already expanded to half of Qingli County. Previously, the sect master had relaxed the restrictions on the Wang family's flying boats. The Wang family's business will soon expand to the southern part of Qingli County." Wang Daoyuan also suggested that the sect master let go of his control over the Foundation Establishment pill. With his strength, the rank 3 demonic beasts in the Skysplit mountain range are materials for him to refine the Foundation Establishment pill. If this continues, Qingli County will become the Wang family's territory. Previously, when the sect master let Wang Daoyuan take up a position in the artifact refining hall, a group of idiots opposed it. Now it's troublesome. Zhou Qi pondered for a moment and said, "We have to report this matter to the sect master. We can't just watch as the Wang family escapes our control." Luo Xianming nodded and took out a communication jade talisman. Holding it in his hand, he began to send a message to the sect master. Wang Daoyuan's divine sense was stronger than that of ordinary Middle Zifu realm cultivators. He sensed the two's divine sense fluctuations. However, he couldn't say it out loud. He could only pretend that he didn't notice and continue to entertain the other Zifu realm cultivators. After 2 hours, everyone had eaten and drank to their heart's content and took their leave. The 3 Zifu realm cultivators from the Netherworld sect continued to stay, unwilling to leave. After everyone else left, the third brother and Wang Daochang also went to the bridal chamber. Only the 3 Zifu realm cultivators from the Wang family and the 3 from the Netherworld sect remained in the assembly hall. Fifth great uncle cupped his hands and said, "What other matters do the 3 elders have?" Su Tingxian and Zhou Qi both looked at Luo Xianming. After all, he was a member of the sect master's clan and had the highest status. Luo Xianming smiled. "It's nothing major. I just have an official matter and a private matter to discuss with Steward Wang. Let's talk about official matters first. The sect master wants to know about the Golden Lightning Demon Exterminating Talisman, so he sent me to convey his message. Because the Lightning Talisman is effective against many cultivators in our sect, the sect master hopes that the Wang family won't casually sell this talisman, lest it be used against the Netherworld sect. The Netherworld sect's legacies mainly focused on the Tao of corpses and ghosts. A low-grade 3rd-grade Golden Lightning Demon Exterminating Talisman had a chance of heavily injuring a middle Zifu realm ghost cultivator. If this talisman was sold in large quantities, the Netherworld sect's Zifu realm cultivators would have to keep one eye open in the future. Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "That's not a problem. This talisman definitely won't be sold in large quantities. Besides, the success rate of refining this talisman is extremely low. The Wang family doesn't have enough 3rd-grade talisman paper and spirit ink, so we don't have the ability to sell them in large quantities. We promise to sell 5 talismans to the Shen family and won't sell them to anyone else. May I know what Elder Luo's personal matter is?" Luo Xianming replied, "Selling 5 talismans to the Shen family isn't a big deal. This is a private matter that Hongming wants me to ask. Is the soul of the golden-striped tiger that Steward Wang killed still around? He just established his Violet Palace not long ago, and his Violet Palace phenomenon is the Nether River Ghost Tiger. He needs the soul of a 3rd-grade tiger-type demon beast to refine his natal magic artifact. If the soul is still there, I'm willing to buy it for 100,000 spirit stones. If Steward Wang is willing to sell the golden-striped tiger's body, I'm willing to buy it for 200,000 spirit stones. What do you think, Steward Wang? The soul of a 3rd-grade demon beast could be used to refine a wicked magic artifact or a soul talisman." Wang Daoyuan didn't care about wicked magic artifacts, and he didn't have the method to refine a soul talisman. There was no point in keeping the golden-striped tiger's soul since he wanted to sell it anyway. The golden-striped tiger's body could be used to refine many 3rd-grade magic artifacts. However, the Wang family didn't lack 3rd-grade magic artifacts, and refining them would be useless. It would only be valuable if it was used to refine a combined magic artifact. However, he didn't know how to refine a combined magic artifact. Wang Daoyuan replied, "Luo Hongming, Daoyu and I are old acquaintances. If he needs something, I have no objections. I'll give the golden-striped tiger's body and soul to you, Elder Luo." He took out a spirit beast pouch and a profound Yin jade gourd and gave them to Luo Xianming. He couldn't bear to give away the soul-capturing bottle. Instead, he stored the golden-striped tiger's soul in a profound Yin jade gourd. The profound Yin jade gourd contained a lot of Yin qi and baleful qi that could be used to temporarily preserve the soul. Luo Xianming took the spirit beast pouch and the profound Yin jade gourd and said, "I thank Steward Wang on behalf of Hongming." He then handed a storage pouch to Wang Daoyuan. There were 300,000 spirit stones inside. After the transaction, Luo Xianming was stunned for a moment before he took out a communication jade talisman. He used his divine sense to read the message and said with a smile, "The sect master has another order. He wants to discuss it with Steward Wang." Chapter 394. Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "If sect master has any instructions, Elder Luo can speak frankly." Luo Xianming nodded and said, "I won't hide it from you. Previously, I reported the matter of Venerable Lei Yen wanting to take you in as a disciple to the sect master. The sect leader wants me to ask what Steward Wang plans to do. Should I reject spiritual master Lei Yan's good intentions, or should I leave the Netherworld sect and join the Divine Weapon Pavilion?" Wang Daoyuan laughed. "I think Elder Luo and sect master have misunderstood. If it was before, I still had the possibility of joining the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Now, I'm an elder of the Netherworld sect. If Daoist Lei Yen were to let me join the Divine Weapon Pavilion, it would be the same as snatching someone from the Netherworld sect. This would go against the Divine Weapon Pavilion's rule of not interfering with the affairs of local powers. I'm sure Elder Luo knows about my brother-in-law's marriage. He wanted to marry my sister into the Divine Weapon Pavilion, but was stopped. Daoist Thunderflame fought with the other elders of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, but in the end, didn't he still have to marry into the Wang family? He is a disciple personally raised by Daoist Lei Yen, and even he cannot make the Divine Weapon Pavilion break the rules, let alone me, a disciple who became a disciple halfway through. On top of that, I'm a penta-spiritual roots cultivator and I have a cultivation method that suits me. I can't learn any of Daoist Lei Yan's unique techniques and spells. If I can't inherit Daoist Lei Yan's techniques and spells, what's the point of him taking me in as his disciple? Therefore, Daoist Lei Yen would at most take me in as a disciple in name and give me some pointers in refining, but would not let me join the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Elder Luo, think about it. Our underworld sect's elders have become disciples of Reverend Lei Yen. In the future, if the sect wants to buy some magic tools and the like, wouldn't it be easier to get things done with my connections? As far as I am concerned, joining the Divine Weapon Pavilion would not bring me any benefits. Now that I've already established my Violet Palace, what I need the most is nothing more than spiritual items that can help me form my gold core. Even a top power like the Divine Weapon Pavilion was unable to produce such a thing steadily. The direct descendants of the Jindan elders in the sect, as well as the direct disciples, were not enough. Would they give it to an outsider like me? To put it bluntly, Daoist Thunderflame was not far from 900 years old. He only had 100 years left to live. Before he passes away, neither Dao Yin nor I will be able to form our gold core. After the end of his lifespan, my brother's position in the Divine Weapon Pavilion was a little awkward, let alone me. In the Netherworld sect, I was appreciated by the sect master and hall master Gu. Elder Luo, you're also my big brother's master. Dao Yu, Luo Hongming, and I are old acquaintances. There's also a large group of old cultivators who have good relations with our Wang clan. Elder Jin was able to become the vice hall master of the punishment hall and become one of the upper echelons of the sect. With my talent, my achievements shouldn't be lower than Elder Jin's, right? There was not much point in entering the Divine Weapon Pavilion. He would lose his connections and future in the Netherworld sect for nothing. I would be a fool to do that. Elder Luo, please pass on my words to the sect master. I have no intention of betraying the sect. Luo Xianming pondered for a moment after hearing this, before he said, Manager Wang is right. I'll pass your words to the sect leader. I still have important matters to attend to in the sect, so I'll take my leave now. Wang Daoyuan and the other two escorted them out of the mountain. The next day, the new and old patriarchs handed over the account books and other things. The new patriarch had to gather the elders to discuss the future of the clan. After all the elders were present, Wang Daochang walked in energetically. Wang Daoyuan smiled and said, "Third brother's health is good." All the elders burst into laughter. Wang Daochang glanced at him and said, "I married Yuqing to block a knife for you. You still have the nerve to make fun of me? Let's see who will be willing to block a knife for you in the future when someone asks you for a marriage alliance." I think you like to block a knife. Wang Daoyuan had a mischievous smile on his face. He has quite a few younger brothers and nephews. Furthermore, there are 2 uncles around. The 12th uncle coughed softly and said, "All right, stop joking. Let's get down to business." Then, he handed a stack of account books and a few jade slips to Wang Daochang. "All right, everything I need to hand over is here. I haven't finished refining my natal magic weapon yet. I'll take my leave first." Everyone stood up and saluted. "We respectfully send Grand Supreme Elder off." Wang Daochang looked at the account books and jade slips and said, "In these years, the clan's population and industry have improved greatly. There are more than 200,000 ordinary clansmen and more than 310 cultivators. The clan's annual income has reached 270,000 spirit stones." Wang Daoyuan was a bit dazed. "I remember the last time we participated in the war, didn't the clan only have 140 people? It's only been 30 years or so, and it's more than doubled." The third brother's face was full of joy. "This is all thanks to the population policy you proposed. Most of the clan's cultivators over the age of 70 have already married and taken in concubines. They have at least 3 or 4 children, and there are many clansmen with more than 10 children. Now, there are more than 300 descendants of cultivators under the age of 10. Among them, there should be 50 to 60 cultivators. At present, there are more than 70 cultivators with the Dao character in the clan, and more than 10 of them have already passed away. There are more than 140 cultivators with the Ming character in the clan, and the number will increase greatly in the future. There are already more than 70 cultivators with the Da character in the clan, and there are still more than 30 cultivators who have married or taken in. In these 30 years, on average, the clan has gained 4 or 5 new cultivators every year. Moreover, the growth rate is still gradually increasing. When the cultivators with the Da character in the clan grow up again, they'll be able to swallow the entire Fallen Dragon Ridge. Not counting Big Brother and Dao Yin, the clan has 13 foundation establishment cultivators on the surface, more than 20 peak Qi condensation cultivators, and more than 50 late Qi condensation cultivators. In these years, apart from population, the clan has also added a lot of halls. Among them are the Tool Refining Hall, Formation Hall, General Affairs Hall, Spirit Silkworm Hall, 100 Arts Hall, Battle Hall, and Dark Hall. In terms of industry, transportation, spirit silkworms, and restaurants have the highest income, earning more than 50,000 spirit stones every year. Next up is our Wang clan's mining and spirit wood industry, which has always been the largest. Added together, we earn 70,000 to 80,000 spirit stones. Of the 4 pill, tool, and talisman industries, apart from the formation industry that doesn't directly make a profit, the other 3 can still earn 10 to 20,000 spirit stones every year. Currently, there are 7 second-rank pill refiners, 6 second-rank talisman masters, 5 second-rank tool refiners, and only 3 second-rank formation masters. Now, 26th Uncle's formation skills have already reached second-rank superior grade. With Zhao Liang's cooperation, he can already refine flying boats. He has also reached foundation establishment, so you don't have to worry about setting up formations and refining flying boats. Now that the Netherworld sect has relaxed the restrictions on flying boats, the next step is to expand their business to the Wanchuan market in the southern part of Qingli County. The clan's reform policies were all formulated by you. Although you didn't care after coming up with the idea, you were the initiator after all. Are you satisfied with the results of the reform? Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, "This has already greatly exceeded my expectations. What else is there to be dissatisfied with?" Wang Daochang continued, "You've been the elder of punishments for more than 80 years, but you haven't taken care of a single matter of the Hall of Punishments. The 12th uncle appointed a chief steward to manage the affairs of the Hall of Punishments on your behalf. Now that the Grand Elder is vacant, who do you think is suitable?" Wang Daoyuan thought for a moment and said, now that we have sufficient manpower, the Grand Elder doesn't have much to do. In addition, third brother is in charge. His ability to handle practical matters isn't very strong. The main thing is to know the situation of the clan's various industries. He also has to have enough prestige to convince the other elders. In my opinion, Aunt Jiu is not bad. In the early years, Aunt Jiu was also known for her valiant strength. In fights of magical powers, she could be on par with eighth uncle. But after all, she was a water attribute cultivator and didn't have much talent. It just so happened that water attribute cultivators had great talent and first-rate fighting abilities. Without talent, their fighting abilities were extremely poor. She didn't have enough talent. After reaching foundation establishment, her fighting abilities were somewhat stagnant. Thus, she rarely went out these years and basically handled various affairs in the clan. Hearing this, Aunt Jiu was a little surprised. I've only managed the Guardian Hall these years and haven't managed the other halls. I don't know how to handle the other halls. Chapter 395. Wang Daochang smiled and said, what Daoyuan said makes sense. Aunt Jiu, you've been managing the Guardian Hall all these years and have dealt with various industries. You've also helped me and 12th uncle deal with a lot of affairs. Your ability to deal with affairs is not weak. Only you and 8th uncle have enough prestige. 8th uncle is a bit impatient and isn't suitable to be the Grand Elder. The others don't have enough prestige and won't be able to convince the masses. It's better for you to be the Grand Elder. The other elders also expressed their approval. Aunt Jiu was steady and had experience in managing affairs. She was indeed a suitable candidate to be the Grand Elder. Wang Daochang continued, Aunt Jiu, all the elders support you. You take on this heavy responsibility. If there's something you can't solve, just leave it to me. Aunt Jiu nodded and said, since all the elders support me, then I'll be the Grand Elder. I'll abdicate when there's a more suitable candidate in the future. Wang Daoyuan got up and said, since the Patriarch and Grand Elder have been appointed, I have nothing to do here. The third-rank demonic beasts have been active in the Fallen Dragon Ridge recently. I'll go there and see if I can get a few more furnaces of Foundation Establishment pills. After saying that, he left the Jade Spring Peak on his sword and headed to the Fallen Dragon Ridge. He wasn't in a hurry to cultivate. Without the Violet Harmony pill, an ordinary Violet Palace Realm cultivator would need 70 to 80 years to reach the mid-stage from the early-stage Violet Palace Realm. If they encountered a bottleneck, it was common for them to not be able to break through in 100 years. Even those with better talent would need about 50 years. Even if there were enough Violet Harmony pills, it would still take 30 years. Before there were enough Violet Harmony pills, cultivating in seclusion wouldn't have any obvious effect. For Wang Daoyuan, the best way to increase his cultivation speed was to find the 5 elemental spiritual fires and use them to form spiritual power seeds. Back then, 5 elements Daoist refined the dust returner flame into a spiritual power seed and cultivated from the early stage Golden Core realm to the peak Golden Core realm in less than 200 years. If he could find the 5 elemental spiritual fires, cultivating from the early stage Violet Palace realm to the peak Violet Palace realm would be a piece of cake. Unfortunately, he couldn't find any other elemental spiritual fires after obtaining the Gue Water Netherflame. There wasn't even a rumor about the metal elemental spiritual fire. There was a lot of information about fire attribute spiritual fire, and even the location of these spiritual fire could be determined. However, Wang Daoyuan did not have the ability to take these spiritual fire. Because the owners of these spiritual flames were all top experts in Beiyuan Xiaofan. Most of them were at the pinnacle of the Golden Core realm, and some were even half a step into the Yuanying realm. Half-step Yuanying meant that one had grasped the abilities of Yuanying cultivators. They should have been able to form Yuanying, but they were limited by the concentration of spiritual energy and spiritual items in Beiyuan Xiuxian, so they were stuck at the last step. In terms of strength, they were much stronger than those at the peak of the Golden Elixir realm, but they had not reached the point of qualitative change. If the outside world allowed it, they would soon become true Yuanian cultivators. The top forces in Beiyuan Xiuxian all had half-step Yuanian cultivators. With Wang Daoyuan's current strength, he did not even dare to think about the spiritual fire in these people's hands. He also did not dare to ask anyone to find out about the spiritual fire, or he would easily expose the secret of his cultivation technique. He could only ask Zhou Wan to find out where the ancient cultivators who played with fire had left behind cave abodes or tombs. There might be some hope. The most important thing now was to improve his alchemy skills and refine the purple rime elixir and the demon-subduing gourd. The east of Fallen Dragon Ridge was not far from the territory of some rank 3 demon beasts. It was inevitable that some of them would come looking for trouble. With his strength, killing low-grade or mid-grade rank 3 demon beasts was not a big problem. However, it would cause a big commotion and attract other rank 3 demon beasts. With the demon-subduing gourd, he could quickly subdue the demon beasts. The demon beasts subdued by the gourd were captured alive. Their bodies, demon cores, and souls were all intact and could definitely be sold for a good price. He was only a low-grade rank 3 blacksmith now, so he could only refine a low-grade rank 3 demon-subduing gourd. The Xianyuan gourds in his dimension were only high-grade rank 2. To refine a low-grade rank 3 demon-subduing gourd, he had to use rank 3 materials. Wang Daoyuan intended to consume some heaven ferocious metal to refine into the gourd to strengthen it. Otherwise, it would be easily destroyed after subduing a rank 3 demon beast. The malevolent aura of the heaven ferocious metal had a certain deterrent effect on souls. When the demon-subduing gourd attacked the souls of demon beasts, it could also play a supporting role. The heaven ferocious metal and grand unity essence gold that Wang Daoyuan put away were both middle-grade rank 3. If the Xianyuan gourd could grow to low-grade rank 3, he might be able to refine a middle-grade rank 3 demon-subduing gourd by fusing those two materials. There was no need to consider the tool pattern. A rank 3 blacksmith could use a rank 2 tool pattern to produce a rank 3 tool pattern with the same function. He had refined a rank 2 demon-subduing gourd before, so it was naturally not difficult for him to refine a rank 3 one. It only took him a month to study the tool pattern and refine the gourd. After the demon-subduing gourd was refined, Wang Daoyuan left Fallen Dragon Ridge with it. He used the spirit concealment technique to hide his aura and headed towards the southeast. At the easternmost end of Fallen Dragon Ridge, more than 500 kilometers to the east. There was no spirit vein here, but the concentration of spirit chi was comparable to an upper-grade rank 2 spirit vein. Every 100 to 200 kilometers, he would encounter a rank 3 spirit vein. A rank 3 spirit vein here would definitely have a rank 3 demon beast. Wang Daoyuan released the soul-chasing bees to find a suitable target. Currently, the soul-chasing bee king was already a middle-grade rank 2 spirit insect. Ordinary soul-chasing bees had also become low-grade rank 2 spirit insects. Even so, the honey and even the royal jelly of the soul-chasing bees were no longer useful to Wang Daoyuan. They would not be of much use to help him in battle. However, ordinary soul-chasing bees could fly at a speed of 4,000 kilometers per hour, which was faster than Wang Daoyuan's sword kinesis flight. They were still very valuable to scout the way. After releasing 100 soul-chasing bees to scout the surroundings, most of them returned after 15 minutes. It was normal to lose a few soul-chasing bees in a place where rank 3 demon beasts roamed. The soul-chasing bees found a total of 7 low-grade rank 3 demon beasts within a radius of 500 kilometers. The closest one was the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile more than 100 kilometers to the southeast. This fellow was a dual-attribute demon beast of metal and water. Its physical body was extremely strong, and ordinary mid-stage Violet Palace realm cultivators would find it difficult to break through its defense. However, its soul was relatively weak among those of the same level. The demon-subduing gourd relied on attacking the soul to subdue demon beasts. It was very suitable to deal with the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile. After trekking more than 100 kilometers to the southeast, there was a small lake with a diameter of more than 300 meters. The profound armored golden-toothed crocodile was sunbathing on the shore of the lake. This fellow was almost 200 meters long, and there were 50 to 60 silver teeth of different lengths in its mouth. The scales on its body were pitch black. Among these teeth, there were more than 10 that could be used to refine flying swords. This set of scales was enough to refine more than 20 sets of defensive soft armor. A rank 3 magic artifact was worth at least 20,000 spirit stones. After killing this fellow, he would get 600,000 to 700,000 spirit stones. It had to be said that if one had the ability to enter the heaven/mountain range to kill demon beasts, they would really earn spirit stones. There were many rank 3 demon beasts around, and one might be beaten up by a group. This was exchanging one's life for spirit stones. Wang Daoyuan concealed his aura and stealthily crept over. When he was half a kilometer away, Wang Daoyuan used the misty cloud escape and flew through the air. In an instant, he arrived in front of the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile and activated the demon-subduing gourd. This fellow's physical strength was too strong. Even if its soul was suppressed, it still had a strong resistance by relying on its physical strength. The demon-subduing gourd didn't have enough stamina and couldn't forcefully store it. Continuing the stalemate wasn't a solution. The white tiger blade would cause too much of a commotion, and he wouldn't be able to kill it if he couldn't hit its vitals. He could only use the soul-extinguishing bell. The bell rang, and the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile was stunned for a moment before it was sucked into the gourd. Demon beasts had extremely sharp hearing, and the sound of the soul-extinguishing bell might have alerted the surrounding demon beasts. To be safe, it was better to run first. Chapter 396. Wang Daoyuan controlled the flying kite and fled towards the south. Fortunately, only the closest demonic beast had noticed him, and it was a tortoise demonic beast. It would take too much effort to take this thing down, so he decided to just ignore it. The tortoise-type demonic beast also knew its own speed, so it was impossible for it to catch up. He simply pretended not to see it and continued to bask in the sun. Riding his sword, he flew south for more than 1,000 miles. Seeing that there were no demonic beasts following him, he took a big detour and returned to Jade Pine Mountain. Wang Daoyuan sent a message to Palace Master Gu, asking if he was interested in the living profound armored golden-toothed crocodile. After becoming an elder of the Netherworld sect, with the elder token, one would be able to obtain the Netherworld sect's contribution points. One contribution point was equivalent to 1 spirit stone. The Netherworld sect's contribution points could not be exchanged with spirit stones, and private transactions were also not allowed. They could only be obtained by completing the sect's missions. Those who had the qualifications to issue missions were at least the stewards of the various palaces. Wang Daoyuan was also qualified to issue missions, but there were many restrictions. Apart from issuing missions, the contribution points could also be used to exchange for cultivation techniques, spells, elixirs, artifacts, and talisman arrays, as well as various spiritual items. Although the Wang clan strategy was that a cunning rabbit had 3 burrows. However, the most important thing right now was the cave of the Netherworld sect. The 5 Elements Mystery Realm could only be a refuge. If they were to develop there for a long time, it would be insufficient. At present, the Wang family was doing pretty well in the Underworld sect. Naturally, they had to manage this cave well. Earning more contribution points would be of great use in the future. Apart from the beast core, the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile didn't need anything else. It would be best to exchange them for contribution points. Not long after the news was sent, Palace Master Gu replied, asking him to bring the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile over. He had great use for it. Wang Daoyuan drove the standard flying boat of the Netherworld sect's elder with real power to the mountain gate of the Netherworld sect. After reaching the mountain gate, he went straight to the weapon forging hall. Hallmaster Gu was already waiting for him at the entrance of the weapon refining hall. When he saw him, he quickly asked, "Where is the item? Take it out and show it to me." Wang Daoyuan took out the demon-subduing gourd and said, "It's still alive in the gourd. It's not good to release it here, is it?" Hallmaster Gu smiled and said, "Don't worry. In my hands, a rank 3 lower grade demonic beast won't be able to cause any trouble." Wang Daoyuan opened the demon-subduing gourd and released the mystic armored golden-toothed crocodile. The profound armored golden-toothed crocodile had nowhere to vent its anger after being ambushed by Wang Daoyuan. As soon as they were released, they went around attacking cultivators. Hallmaster Gu immediately formed a seal with both of his hands. As his hands flew, it only took a breath's time to condense the shadow of a talisman. In the middle of the talisman's shadow, there was a large seal character. The talisman shadow hit the crocodile's head, and the crocodile immediately fell asleep. Then, he took out a black jade bottle filled with yin qi. He extracted the soul of the giant crocodile and stored it inside the bottle. Looking at the spell, Wang Daoyuan asked, "This is a spell for sealing souls?" Hallmaster Gu nodded his head and said, "This is called the Soul Sealing Talisman. It can be used to trap souls, and it can also be used to protect damaged souls. It's only used by refiners, and it doesn't have much use in actual combat." "Oh right, your spiritual sense is powerful, surpassing ordinary mid-stage Violet Palace realm cultivators. You can try to cultivate a few powerful spiritual sense offensive spells. This profound armored golden-toothed crocodile has no flaws, so I'll give you 700,000 contribution points. I don't need the beast core, so you can take it away. The pellet hall has supplementary ingredients for the foundation establishment pellet, so you can refine it there. Give me the elder token, and I'll transfer the contribution points to you." Wang Daoyuan handed the token over to Hallmaster Gu, who took the token and entered the hall. At this moment, several Violet Palace realm cultivators were leading 20 to 30 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators to deal with the profound armored golden-toothed crocodile. Clearly, they were very familiar with this task. 2 Foundation Establishment realm cultivators pried open the crocodile's mouth, while a Violet Palace realm cultivator stabbed a foot into the crocodile's mouth and took out the beast core. He handed the beast core over to Wang Daoyuan and said, "Manager Wang, keep this beast core well." Wang Daoyuan took the beast core and stored it in a jade box. Hallmaster Gu walked out of the hall and handed the token over to Lin Yun. "I've already transferred the 700,000 contribution points to you. Check it out, and if you catch a third-grade demonic beast in the future, you must send it to me." Wang Daoyuan took the token and injected his spiritual sense into it. The token showed that there were 700,000 contribution points in it. He couldn't let others see it since the Netherworld sect was pretty good at keeping secrets. He repeatedly promised that he would send the demonic beasts he caught in the future. After bidding farewell to Hallmaster Gu, Lin Yun went to the pellet hall to refine the Foundation Establishment pellet. It was more convenient to refine in the pellet hall. He just had to hand the 2 Foundation Establishment pellets to the manager of the pellet hall. When Wang Daoyuan arrived at the pellet hall, he rented an alchemy room. He didn't use the other spiritual herbs provided by the pellet hall and only spent 50 contribution points. The second time he used the beast core to refine the Foundation Establishment pellets, he was more familiar with it and managed to refine 8 Foundation Establishment pellets. After handing the 2 Foundation Establishment pellets to the manager of the pellet hall, Lin Yun left with the 100,000 spiritual stones. Since he had 700,000 contribution points with him, he couldn't not exchange them for something. Hall Master Gu's words made sense. He did need to exchange for a powerful spiritual sense offensive technique. The soul-splitting blade that came with the cloned soul nurturing technique had the risk of injuring himself when dealing with enemies with powerful spiritual senses. Furthermore, the soul-splitting blade was modified from the Myriad Corpse Daoist's secret technique. It wasn't perfect, so it wasn't stable against Violet Palace realm cultivators. Furthermore, the soul-splitting blade might not be able to break through the Violet Palace realm's defenses. Wang Daoyuan came to the cultivation hall. The Netherworld sect's cultivation techniques and spiritual techniques were all under the cultivation hall's management. When he arrived at the cultivation hall and stated his purpose, a Foundation Establishment realm cultivator immediately brought him to a 5-floored stone pavilion. There was a white-haired mid-stage Violet Palace realm cultivator at the entrance. When Wang Daoyuan flashed his elder token, the white-haired cultivator smiled, "So it's Manager Wang. With your identity, you can go to the 3rd floor to pick the cultivation techniques and spiritual techniques you need. But remember that you can make copies of the items on the 1st and 2nd floors. But the items on the 3rd floor can't be left in copies. Furthermore, the manager can only learn 2 items from the 3rd floor every year. There are surveillance arrays inside, so don't try to be smart. Thank you for your reminder, Elder. I will abide by the sect's rules." Wang Daoyuan smiled. Then, he walked up to the 3rd floor. The interior of the pavilion was extremely spacious. The 3rd floor was roughly an acre in size. There were over 100 bookshelves on the 3rd floor, and there were over 30 boxes on each bookshelf. In each box, there was a jade strip or a beast skin book. In addition, there were introductions to the cultivation techniques in each box. Wang Daoyuan planned to find a spiritual sense offensive technique and a powerful offensive technique. After all, his methods were either too obvious or too secretive and could be easily recognized. It was better to learn more spells that could be used in battle. He chose the Soul Cutter as his spiritual sense offensive technique. It was a technique that specialized in dealing with Violet Palace realm cultivators. Condensing the Soul Cutter with spiritual sense could forcefully break through the Violet Palace realm and injure the opponent's soul. This technique was powerful, but it consumed a lot of spiritual sense. However, this thing also had an advantage, and that was that it wouldn't harm one's soul even if one encountered an opponent stronger than one's divine sense. Spiritual sense techniques didn't have the same attack range as flying swords and were more suitable for sneak attacks. The Soul Cutter was the same. After mastering it, its effective attack range was only around half a kilometer. It couldn't be compared to a flying sword that could be used within 5 kilometers. In addition to the Soul Cutter, Wang Daoyuan also chose a fire attribute technique. This technique was called Flame Wave Slash. It was used when he had just obtained the Yin-Yang Purple Jade and was chased by Chen Ji. Chen Ji used the Prairie Fire Sword to cast this technique. Flame Wave Slash could condense a giant wave of flames. Furthermore, the huge waves of flames unleashed by the Flame Wave Slash could be stacked multiple times. It could be stacked more than 30 times at most. This power was rather terrifying. Coupled with his Divine Sky Burning Technique's ability to control fire, its lethality was extremely high. Chapter 397. The Soul-Severing Blade was worth 20,000 contribution points, while the Flame Wave Slash was worth 50 million contribution points. After handing over the contribution points to the white-haired cultivator, he left the inheritance hall. After bidding farewell to Palace Master Gu, he left the Netherworld sect and returned to his family. He didn't return to Jade Spring Peak, but went directly to Jade Pine Mountain to cultivate the 2 new techniques. The Soul-Severing Blade took 10 days to condense a 3-inch-long Divine Sense knife with a killing range of about 1 mile. The knife's speed wasn't slow. Among the techniques Wang Daoyuan grasped, it was second only to the Earth Divine Lightning and Feather Blade. It was effective against opponents who didn't have powerful escape techniques. It was slightly weaker than the Soul-Severing Blade, and it consumed more energy. It consumed about 10% of his divine sense, but there was no risk of hurting himself. Moreover, he wasn't afraid of being discovered when using it. It had only been 10,000 years since the 10,000 corpse Taoist master ran amok. Someone might recognize the Soul-Severing Blade. The Flame Wave Slash was relatively easy to learn. It was just a very ordinary Grade 3 technique. A huge wave of flames had 3 times the killing power of a low-grade Grade 3 sharp metal divine sword talisman. The only special feature was that it could be stacked multiple times. Against cultivators who could fly, the hit rate was terrible. Against demonic beasts who couldn't fly, it was very reliable. Wang Daoyuan exchanged this technique to complement the Divine Heaven Burning technique. He didn't care if it was weak when used alone. After cultivating, Wang Daoyuan didn't find any more demonic beasts to test its power. During this time, he had already dealt with 2 Grade 3 demonic beasts. If he killed too many, he might anger a high-grade Grade 3 demonic beast. It was also time to improve his alchemy skills. Without the purple rhythm pill, his cultivation speed was terrible. The spirit plants in the space of the spirit pearl also needed to be adjusted. Now that he was already a Zifu realm cultivator, there was no point in keeping those Grade 2 spirit herbs. The purple cloud grass used to make Grade 2 talismans was basically useless now. He still had a lot in stock. He might as well uproot all of the purple cloud grass and leave some seeds. The raw materials for the Grade 2 rejuvenation pill, essence condensing pill, and soul strengthening pill were also uprooted. The red-scaled pine was used to burn rank 2 spirit charcoal, which meant that only the pine nuts had some value. The growth rate of the blood dragon wood was slow, and there was a serious shortage of spiritual charcoal. For the time being, 1 mu of the red-scaled pine was set aside, and 4 mu of spiritual fields were cleared. A total of 13 mu of spiritual fields were cleared out. Among them, 5 mu were planted with blood dragon wood, 5 mu were planted with purple dragon ginseng, and 3 mu were planted with purple dragon pills. Blood dragon wood was the raw material for Tier 3 talisman paper and Tier 3 spirit charcoal. Naturally, they had to plant more of it. Needless to say, the purple rime pill had a slow growth rate and a high demand. No matter how many he planted, he could never have too many. Although the meridian shielding pill was not bad, the consumption was very small. It was enough to keep 1 mu of the original. His success rate in refining the meridian shielding pill was only 45%. If he started refining the purple rime pill now, it would consume too many materials. He spent more than a month refining a cauldron of meridian shielding pills every day. The materials were almost used up, and the success rate had increased to 50%. He could now try to refine the Tier 3 middle-grade purple rime pill. The purple cloud pill's main ingredient, the purple cloud dragon pattern ginseng, was relatively rare, and he did not have much of it. In order to conserve the purple dragon ginseng and increase the success rate, he used his life spirit fire to refine the pills. Although the consumption of spiritual power and spiritual sense was high, it increased the success rate by around 5%. The pill toxins were also much less. Now that the royal jelly and hidden cloud tea had little effect on removing the pill toxins, he did not dare to eat large quantities of spiritual herbs like before. If he could reduce the pill toxins, he would do his best to reduce them. He would refine a cauldron every 3 days. After failing, he would refine the next cauldron. After 2 months, the success rate of refining the purple rime pill had finally reached 30%. After another month, he had used up all the spiritual herbs and refined a total of 70 pills. These purple rime pills only had 1/3 of the pill toxins left in them. Even so, Wang Daoyuan did not dare to consume large quantities. He would consume 1 pill every month. After refining it, the cultivation effect would last for 3 months. For a Violet Palace realm cultivator, 3 times the cultivation speed could save 40 years. The hidden cloud tea was already better than nothing, but he still insisted on drinking some every day. This thing had very high requirements for the environment. Apart from the life spirit fire, it was difficult to grow in other places. This hidden cloud tea was already a second-tier mid-grade plant and showed signs of advancing to a second-tier high-grade plant. However, even if it was a second-grade hidden cloud tea, it would not be of much use to him. He did not know how long he would have to wait for it to become a third-tier spiritual plant. If he had the chance in the future, he would go deep into the hidden cloud continent of the 100 Rivers Lake and see if there were any third-tier hidden cloud tea trees. After cultivating for a year, Zhou sent news that she had investigated the whereabouts of the dragon seed. She asked him to bring 10 purple rime pills and 100 jars of spirit peach dew to meet at the old place. This old place was also the place where he and Zhou fought twice. It was only 3,000 to 4,000 kilometers away from Jade Pine Mountain. There were very few cultivators on the way, so he did not even bother to disguise himself. Putting on the cloak that Zhou gave him, he flew north on his sword and arrived at the northern foot of Huiyan Mountain, the outer boundary of the sky/mountain range. He waited here for 12 to 14 hours, but no one came. Just as he was about to send a message to ask, a fiery red sword light slashed at him. Wang Daoyuan took out the white tiger blade and waved it to shatter the sword light. He scanned the surroundings with his divine sense, but he did not find any traces of enemies. Suddenly, a black shadow pounced at him with a red sword in his hand. Wang Daoyuan recognized that the spiritual energy fluctuation was from Zhou, so he did not counterattack and dodged the attack. The black shadow brushed past him, and a familiar fragrance came with a hint of alcohol. Zhou chuckled and said, "This cloak that is thicker than a blanket is really useful. Even you were fooled." With that, she put away the cloak and looked at Wang Daoyuan carefully. "This is the first time I've seen your true appearance. You look pretty good. But where did your daunting aura come from? If I didn't see this cloak, I wouldn't have recognized you." Wang Daoyuan looked at her and replied, "Don't you know about the white tiger blade? I comprehended the white tiger sword intent, but I still can't freely withdraw and release it, so I became like this. You're still dressed like before, and your makeup hasn't changed. What have you been doing for the past 12 to 14 hours? I only need several dozen breaths of time to change my appearance." Zhou glanced at him with her phoenix eyes. "It's none of your business. Did you bring the things I wanted? It took me several years to gather all the information that Blood Shadow knew about the dragon species. Giving you 10 purple rhythm pills and 100 jars of wine is already cheap for you." Wang Daoyuan took out a spirit beast pouch and a storage pouch, handing them to Zhou. "Here are 200 jars of spirit peach dew and 20 purple rhythm pills. The sooner you form your gold core, the sooner I can continue to live off you." Zhou's cheeks were somewhat red, but she still said with a straight face, "You're glib-tongued." She handed over a 3-inch thick beast skin book to Wang Daoyuan. In the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian, the records of dragon species that appeared in the past 10,000 years are all here. However, if you want to know about dragon species, is there a need to ask me? Your clan's Jade Spring Peak is one of the places where dragon species appear most often. If you keep an eye on Jade Dragon Spring, the chances of finding dragon species are not low. He naturally knew about dragon species appearing in Jade Spring Peak. In the past 10,000 years, dragon species have appeared more than 10 times. Wang Daoyuan flipped through all of his clan's records, but he still couldn't find the reason. In the image he saw when he opened his purple mansion. Before the formation of decimating heaven abyss, Jade Spring Peak didn't have any relationship with the dragon race. In his previous life, he also learned some feng shui geomancy from his master. In the few thread-bound old books his master left behind, other than a not-so-brilliant cultivation method, most of them were books on feng shui geomancy and the like. From a feng shui perspective, Jade Spring Peak was located near the intersection of the two great dragon veins of Heaven/Mountain Range and Huiyan Mountain Range. He wasn't skilled enough, so he could only roughly see. He also didn't understand the situation of Jade Spring Peak. Chapter 398. In Feng Shui, the dragon vein was also considered a dragon. In time, it had the chance to transform into a true dragon. There was even a rumor that the earliest dragon clan was born from the dragon vein. Where the dragon vein was, there must be true dragon chi. Humans usually couldn't feel it, but dragons could. True dragon chi could improve the purity of dragon blood, which was a fatal attraction to dragons. However, there was no such saying in Beiyuan Xiaofan. He wasn't sure if the fortune-tellers in the archaic mysteries sect had such a saying. He could ask Zhou Xian, that little fortune-teller, when he met him in the future. Yuchuan Peak might have obtained the true dragon chi from the two dragon veins or attracted the dragon species here. Or maybe the indigenous aquatic beasts obtained the true dragon chi and awakened the dragon bloodline in their body. In the past 10,000 years, many dragon species appeared. There was the old ancestors' dragonfish, and then there was the Qingjiang carp. Even the Jade Spring Peak specialty jade dragon algae grew into a small white jade dragon when it reached the 3rd level. This thing couldn't survive without the jade dragon spring. Even if the life spirit fire contained vitality and had the effect of reviving spiritual plants, it could only barely keep the 1st level jade dragon algae alive. The 2nd and 3rd level jade dragon algae he transplanted earlier were all dead. The 1st level jade dragon algae that survived were half dead. There was no hope for them to advance. Moreover, this thing could actually break the bloodline shackles of aquatic beasts. It probably contained some true dragon chi. It needed to be in an environment with true dragon chi to grow and advance normally. The jade dragon algae couldn't grow well in the space of the spiritual pearl, probably because the space lacked true dragon chi. Wang Daoyuan put away the beast skin book. Zhou Luan took out 2 jars of wine and said, "I haven't seen you for a few years, and I don't even have a drinking partner. Today, you have to drink with me." He waited here for 12 to 14 hours, and the sky was already dark. However, the vision of a Qi refinement cultivator was not affected by the night, let alone a Zifu realm cultivator. Wang Daoyuan looked around and asked, "This is the wilderness. You're a weak woman, and you still dare to drink?" Zhou Luan smiled sweetly. "You are the most dangerous person here. As long as you don't have any evil intentions, what danger can I be in?" Wang Daoyuan channeled his spirit energy to calm his unstable qi and blood before saying, "I'm an upright gentleman who only cares about cultivation. Why would I have any ill intentions towards you?" Then, he used the earth mountain technique to condense a stone table and 2 stone stools. He placed the wine jar on the table. He then took out some red-scaled pine nuts and dried meat, saying, "There's no point in just drinking wine. I have some dishes that go with the wine." The 2 of them drank for the whole night, and each of them drank 5 or 6 jars of wine. Fortunately, the spirit peach dew was not very strong. If it was the scarlet blood brew, the 2 of them would have been knocked out. Along the way, some demonic beasts came to join in the fun. When Wang Daoyuan activated the white tiger blade and released a bit of his aura, they were all scared away. In the blink of an eye, the sky was bright. The 2 of them had eaten and drank to their heart's content. It was time for them to return home. Wang Daoyuan smiled. "I still need to live off a woman again. Help me gather information about ancient cultivators who are famous for playing with fire." It would be best if you know the location of an immortal's cave or tomb. It would be good if you know the general area. Xiaofan asked doubtfully, you want spiritual fire? It's not hard to find. There are many of them on the surface. If you have the ability, you can just go and snatch them. If I had the ability, would I still need to live off a woman? Wang Daoyuan asked in a righteous manner. Xiaofan covered her mouth and laughed for a long time. Her whole body was trembling violently. Wang Daoyuan immediately took out the profound ice jade essence and extracted the cold energy from it. He suppressed his somewhat violent qi and blood so that he wouldn't be unable to control himself. After she stopped laughing, she said, I've never seen someone who lives off a woman so righteously. Okay, I'll gather information for you. But the reward can't be low. Wang Daoyuan patted his chest and promised, don't worry, 20 purple rhythm pills is nothing. Later, Wang Daoyuan returned to Jade Pine Mountain and Xiaofan returned to Yanfang City. Before leaving, she took away Wang Daoyuan's 2 storage bags. One was filled with red scale pine nuts and the other was filled with dried meat. After Wang Daoyuan returned to the Jade Pine Mountain Immortal's cave, he put the animal skin book that Xiaofan gave him into the space. He let his clone Li Qingchuan take a good look at which places had dragon species. Although there was a Qing River carp at home, it was still raised by his family. If it awakened the dragon bloodline, it could become the clan's divine beast. With the long lifespan of dragon species, even if it could only cultivate to the 4th rank, it could still protect the family for thousands of years. Killing it to refine tools was too much of a loss. Besides, that Qing River carp was only a 2nd-rank low-grade dragon. It would take many years for it to condense a pseudo-dragon ball. Xiaofan was very attentive in collecting information about dragon species. She didn't simply record the information, but also recorded the number of times dragon species appeared in detail. In addition to the conclusive evidence of dragon species, she also recorded some rumors. She recorded in detail the places where dragon species were most likely to appear. Now, there were 3 places where dragon species were confirmed to live. One was the extreme cold ice field at the northernmost tip of Beiyuan Xiuxian. There were many ice-attribute dragon species there, but there were also some 4th-rank dragon species there. With the protection of the 4th-rank dragon species, daring to touch the dragon species there was no different from courting death. The second was the 1000 Dragon Mountain near the Sky/Mountain Range in the southeast corner of Zhao. There were several 4th-rank flood dragons there, and one of them was even at the peak of the 4th rank. If one dared to go there, they would definitely die. The third was the Mirage Dragon Sea, which was east of the Sky/Mountain Range and tens of thousands of miles north of Linhai State. It was shrouded in fog all year round, and there were mirage dragons lurking in the fog. It was said that in the past 10,000 years, many people had explored the Fog Sea, but no one had ever come out. Even golden core cultivators would find it difficult to survive in these 3 places. Wang Daoyuan wouldn't risk his life for a natal magic artifact. Apart from these 3 places, the place where dragon species appeared the most frequently was the Qianlong River in Zhou. The Qianlong River was also a tributary of the Wanchuan River. At the mouth of the Wanchuan River, dragon species would appear every 50 to 60 years. No one cared about the dragon species there, and whoever had the ability could kill them. This was also the most reliable place to obtain pseudo-dragon balls. However, with his current strength, it was still very difficult to obtain dragon species. If he wanted to obtain more resources, increasing his strength was the most important thing. He took the purple rhythm pill and continued to increase his cultivation. In addition to cultivation, he also had to nurture the white tiger blade. After all, most of the strength of a Zifu realm cultivator relied on their natal magic artifact. When he was drinking with Xiaofan, he also asked the trick of communicating with his natal magic artifact. The answer he received was to spend more time nurturing it. It was best to place his natal magic artifact in his Zifu realm and directly contact his soul. This would only be slightly faster. Zhou Wan had spent more than 30 years nurturing her natal Dharma artifact before she was able to communicate with it. Wang Daoyuan felt that he should be able to speed up a lot. After all, Zhou Wan's Zifu realm phenomenon was a scarlet Wan, and her Dharma artifact was a phoenix. Although they both belonged to the phoenix race, there were still some differences. It should have a great impact on the nurturing speed. In addition, he was a dabbler in sword cultivation and had comprehended the White Tiger sword intent, which would be of great help to nurture his Dharma artifact. It was impossible for him to improve his cultivation in a short period of time. He mainly relied on the White Tiger blade to increase his combat strength. He kept it in his Zifu realm and placed it beside his soul. Apart from meditating and cultivating every day, he nurtured the White Tiger blade. However, his efforts were not in vain. When controlling the White Tiger blade, the power of his spiritual sense was also decreasing. The intimacy he felt with the White Tiger blade also grew stronger. After 7 years, Wang Daoyuan could finally control the White Tiger blade without using his spiritual sense. At this moment, the White Tiger blade was like a part of his body. Without using his spiritual sense, he could sense every detail of the White Tiger blade. It felt a little like the panoramic perception clone. With a thought, the White Tiger blade would act according to his intentions. This was the connection between the heart and the sword. Chapter 399. The biggest difference between controlling the White Tiger blade and controlling an avatar was that the White Tiger blade consumed the spirit power of the main body. However, the power of the natal magic weapon was also based on one's own strength. Unlike controlling an avatar, no matter how strong one's combat experience and skills were, they would be restricted by the avatar and could not be used at all. After leaving the cave abode and going outside the formation, he tried to use only spirit power and not divine sense to control the White Tiger blade and cast sword cultivation spells. He tried the myriad sword art, the black tortoise sword shield, and the demon-resisting sword bell, and he could successfully cast them all. When he tried to cast the heaven-cleaving sword and the endless sword sea, he could not cast them. Without consuming divine sense, he could cast some spells that consumed less spirit power. For the time being, he could not cast spells that consumed a lot of spirit power. This was also because he had just achieved a mental connection with the magic weapon. In the future, when the magic weapon was stronger, he might be able to cast the heaven-cleaving sword. From this, one could see the strength of sword cultivators. Even if other cultivators could communicate with their natal flying sword, they could only control the flying sword to release sword light, control the flying sword Dharma image, and use the flying sword itself to attack and defend. On the other hand, sword cultivators could cast some sword cultivator spells without consuming their divine sense, so they were superior in terms of life-bound magic artifacts. Even if one did not consider the power of the sword intent, sword cultivators had a big advantage over ordinary cultivators. In addition, the flying sword nurtured by the sword intent was even more lethal. Sword cultivators put all their energy on the natal flying sword, focusing on the sword and walking the path to the end. Compared to other cultivators, their methods were more simple. For most non-sword cultivators, their natal magic weapons would have some special abilities, such as the vermilion bird fan to control fire and the Kirin seal to suppress. In a real fight, sword cultivators might not necessarily win. With a mental connection with the White Tiger blade, the sword could follow the heart, and he could only consume spirit power to fight with the enemy. With the spiritual wine in the space of the spiritual pearl, he did not have to worry about the consumption of spirit power. In the future, when he fought with others, he could fight to his heart's content. With his control of the White Tiger blade improved, Wang Daoyuan planned to go out and kill 1 or 2 rank 3 demonic beasts. At this moment, the third brother, Wang Daochang, sent a message saying that Yi Changsheng of the Divine Weapon Pavilion had come to visit, saying that he had something important to discuss with him. Wang Daoyuan immediately rode his sword back to Jade Spring Peak. The third brother accompanied Yi Changsheng to talk in the auditorium. The last time he saw Yi Changsheng was at his fifth granduncle's Purple Mansion grand ceremony. At that time, he had just entered the threshold of the late foundation establishment stage. Now, he was already at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. Seeing Wang Daoyuan enter, Yi Changsheng stood up and bowed, "Greetings to martial uncle. Under the orders of martial ancestor Lei Yan, I am here to invite martial uncle to the Divine Weapon Pavilion." Wang Daoyuan was startled. Why was he suddenly invited to the Divine Weapon Pavilion? He asked, could it be that Dao Yin has opened up his Violet Palace? Yi Changsheng answered, it was indeed junior martial uncle who established his Violet Palace. His Violet Palace anomaly was the Purple Thunder Divine Flame, which was exactly the same as Grandmaster's Violet Palace anomaly. The embryonic form of youngest martial uncle's Purple Palace was 7 inches and 8 parts. Although it wasn't unparalleled in the world, it was still very rare. Grandmaster Lei Yan was overjoyed and decided to invite everyone to hold a grand ceremony for youngest martial uncle. As youngest martial uncle's only close relative, Grandmaster has instructed me to invite you over. Wang Daoyuan was overjoyed. He knew that Yi Changsheng's special physique had great potential, but he didn't expect his Violet Palace anomaly to be so powerful. There were all kinds of Violet Palace anomalies. Wind, fire, and lightning anomalies were extremely rare, but they were all extremely powerful. Most of them were comparable to Divine Beast anomalies. The strength of the Purple Thunder Divine Flame could be seen from Daoist Lei Yan. Daoist Lei Yan's name came from his Violet Palace anomaly. His lesser ability was also the Purple Thunder Divine Flame. When he executed his divine ability, it had the explosive power of lightning and the scorching effect of flames. Although Daoist Lei Yan wasn't a half-step Yuanian cultivator, his strength wasn't much weaker than a half-step Yuanian cultivator with his lesser ability. It was especially effective against heretic cultivators. With Yi Changsheng's Violet Palace and the Purple Thunder Divine Flame anomaly, it's only a matter of time before he forms his golden core. He smiled and said, Dao Yin is my blood brother, so I naturally have to attend his Violet Palace grand ceremony. When will I leave for the Divine Weapon Pavilion? Yi Changsheng replied, Martial Uncle, youngest Martial Uncle's Violet Palace grand ceremony is 2 months later. 1 month later, please come to the Divine Weapon Pavilion's shop in Clear Glass City. There will be a flying boat heading to the sect. Martial Uncle, you can take the flying boat. Wang Daoyuan nodded and said, I'll be there on time. Yi Changsheng bowed and said, Grandmaster Lei Yan also said that he hasn't seen Martial Uncle Zhao for many years. He heard that Martial Uncle Zhao has a child, so he hopes that Martial Uncle Zhao can bring your family along. I've already passed on Grandmaster's words to Martial Uncle, so I'll take my leave. Zhao Liang and 8th sister did give birth to a boy, but he wasn't even 10 years old. It was unknown if he had a spiritual root, so he hadn't been officially named. Yi Changsheng left the hall and Wang Daochang sent him out of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan sighed with emotion. The little kid who couldn't eat his fill had already caught up with him in the blink of an eye. He went to the family graveyard at the back of the mountain and lit a few incense sticks for his parents. Their youngest son, who they were worried about the most, had also become successful. In the following month, Wang Daoyuan didn't plan to go to Fallen Dragon Ridge and cultivated at Jade Spring Peak. 3 days later, Sect Master Gu came to Jade Spring Peak to see Wang Daoyuan. Sect Master Gu wasn't even 350 years old and had been at the peak of the Violet Palace realm for many years. He was the person with the highest chance of forming his golden core in the Netherworld sect. He was a native cultivator and was said to be the direct descendant of a Grand Elder. In terms of status, he was a sect master, second only to the Grand Elder, the Sect Master, and the Vice-Sect Master. When such a heavyweight came to Jade Spring Peak, the 3 Violet Palace realm cultivators of the Wang clan naturally had to come out to welcome him. After Sect Master Gu was welcomed into the hall and everyone was seated, Wang Daoyuan cupped his hands and said, "Sect Master Gu, if you have something to ask of me, you can just send a message. There's no need for you to come here personally." Sect Master Gu smiled and said, "There's no need to be so polite. I'm here for Wang Daoyin. We already know about him establishing his Violet Palace realm. The Divine Weapon Pavilion also sent an invitation and I'm sure Daoyuan has also received it. The Sect Master guessed that when you go to the Divine Weapon Pavilion, Daoist Lei Yen might ask to take you in as a disciple. The Grand Elders and the Sect Master all believe that if you become Daoist Lei Yan's disciple, it'll be more beneficial for the Netherworld sect and the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Therefore, I hope you won't refuse when the time comes. You can take Daoist Lei Yan as your master, but you can't join the Divine Weapon Pavilion." Wang Daoyuan bowed and said, "I understand. If Daoist Lei Yan wants to take me in as a disciple, I'll definitely say that I'm willing to take him as my master, but I won't join the Divine Weapon Pavilion." Sect Master Gu nodded with satisfaction. "It's good that you know what you're doing. However, you have to be mentally prepared. This time, Daoist Lei Yan has invited so many people. When the time comes, I'm afraid all the influential forces will send people to attend. Daoist Lei Yan has a violent temper and has offended many people. Although there's no life and death feud, there are many people who want to embarrass him. When the time comes, someone might find trouble with Daoyin." Wang Daoyuan's face turned serious. "Who will make a move? Please advise me, Sect Master Gu." Sect Master Gu stroked his beard and smiled. The Sect Master didn't guess wrong. He said, "You're loyal and righteous. If someone wants to deal with Daoyin, you'll definitely make a move. There are mainly 2 people who don't get along with Daoist Lei Yan. One is Tai Sword Sect's Daoist Profound Thunder, and the other is Wind Snow Deity Palace's Daoist Ning Shuang. At Daoyin's Violet Palace ceremony, their disciples will definitely make a move. Although Daoist Heaven Glimpse of the Archaic Arcanum sect doesn't have any grudges with Daoist Lei Yan, he has an extremely good relationship with Daoist Profound Thunder. Perhaps, his disciples will make a move. The disciples or juniors of the 3 of them are all top-notch geniuses. Although you're a Penta-Spirit Veins cultivator and are known to be invincible in the same stage, in front of them, you might not be able to gain an advantage." Chapter 400. The Tai Sword sect was located in the southwest corner of Beiyuan Xiuxian. It was also the strongest sword sect. Sword talismans were one of the 3 major sects of spirit talismans. It was also one of the specialty of the Tai Sword sect. The Wind Snow God Palace was located in the northwest corner of Beiyuan Xiuxian. It was near the border of the Arctic Ice Plains. It was an extremely unconventional sect that only recruited female disciples. Because it was near the Arctic Ice Plains, most of the sect's disciples were ice cultivators. Apart from that, the Arctic Ice Plains was the only music sect in Beiyuan Xiuxian. Their music cultivators were not as simple as the Soul Extinguishing Bell. The Soul Extinguishing Bell attacked indiscriminately. Apart from the user's own golden light barrier, everything around them was the target of the attack. The attack method was also extremely simple. It relied on sound waves to forcefully injure the opponent's soul. The orthodox music cultivator's legacy focused most of the power together to attack a specific target. Although the surrounding people would be affected, the effect would be very small. The attack method was not just brute force. There were also illusions and the like. Wang Daoyuan was unconcerned. Although these top geniuses are powerful, they should be quite arrogant. They won't bully the weak. The ones looking for trouble are only early-stage Zifu realm cultivators. In a battle of the same level, I'm not afraid of them. It wasn't that he was underestimating his opponents. Ordinary early-stage Zifu realm cultivators rarely refined their natal magic artifacts to the point where they could communicate with their minds. After all, they cared more about cultivation. The disciples of the Wind Snow God Palace and the Archaic Mysteries sect did not need to be too concerned. They also had all kinds of fancy spells and secret techniques, and it just so happened that Wang Daoyuan was the same. The Tai Sword sect spiritual master Xuanlei's disciple should also be a sword cultivator. The sword cultivator's natal magic artifact could only be stronger than his, not weaker. However, sword cultivators did not have many things other than their natal flying swords. As long as he did not have the ability to kill in one blow, it would not be difficult to defeat sword cultivators with his various methods. Sect Master Gu smiled. It's good that you are confident. However, there is no need to be too worried. After all, it's just a spar. If someone was injured during such a joyous occasion, it would be a feud between the two major powers. The few spiritual masters knew their limits and knew the severity of the situation. I am the special envoy of the Netherworld sect. When the time comes, I will take the flying boat with you to the Divine Weapon Pavilion's mountain gate. I'll be staying at Qingli City Square for the time being. If you need anything, you can come and find me directly. After saying that, Headmaster Gu left the hall. Wang Daoyuan and the others sent him out of the mountain. Wang Daoyuan returned to his cave and continued to nurture the white tiger blade. With less than a month left, there was not much point in increasing his cultivation. The time to set off arrived very quickly. Wang Daoyuan brought Zhao Liang, 8th sister and their children to the entrance of the Divine Weapon Pavilion's shop in Qingli City. Yi Chongsheng was already waiting at the door. When he saw Wang Daoyuan coming over, he bowed and said, "Greetings, Uncle Masters. The flying boat is ready and can set off at any time. Please follow me inside." Wang Daoyuan and the others followed behind Yi Chongsheng and entered the backyard of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. In a spacious courtyard, there was a flying boat that was more than 200 feet long. It looked like a cargo ship, but there were no goods on it. Yi Chongsheng smiled and said, "There are only such flying boats for transporting goods here. Please forgive me, Uncle Masters." Wang Daoyuan waved his hand and said, "It's fine. If it wasn't for the various factions forbidding outsiders from entering, I can go to the Divine Weapon Pavilion's mountain gate myself. It's already good enough to have this flying boat." The territories of various factions would interrogate the foreign Zifu realm cultivators. If he went as an individual and was discovered by other factions, it would be inevitable that there would be conflicts. As the top faction of Beiyuan Xiuxian, as long as their flying boat did not fly over other factions' important industries or mountain gates, the other factions would not dare to say anything. Wang Daoyuan and the others boarded the flying boat and found that Headmaster Gu was already on the boat. The two of them exchanged a few words and the flying boat set off. The flying boat flew to an altitude of more than 90,000 feet and headed southwest. In Beiyuan Xiuxian, the Nine Heavens astral wind existed at an altitude of more than 10,000 feet. In the Nine Heavens astral wind, even golden core cultivators would find it hard to protect themselves. Those below the golden core level would definitely die if they touched it. Humans and demonic beasts would avoid it. At 90,000 feet and above, there were basically no traces of flying demonic beasts. The flying boat could avoid a lot of trouble at this altitude. Because they were on a flying boat for transporting goods, the speed was average, about 4,000 miles in 2 hours. It was slightly faster than an early Zifu realm cultivator's flying sword. Wang Daoyuan spent most of his time traveling in the Sky Beheading Mountain Range and Huiyan Mountain Range. The only time he crossed the Thousand River was when he went to support Wucheng Pass. He came to the bow of the flying boat and looked down at the land. Looking to the west, there was a large river coming from the west, but its source could not be seen. To the east was the sky-beheading mountain range, which reached into the clouds. The mountain peak was deep in the 9 heavens astral wind. At an altitude of more than 90,000 feet, it was still impossible to see the situation on the other side of the mountain. On the land, mountain ranges of various sizes rose and fell. The plains were only in the gaps between the mountain ranges and in the river valleys. It was extremely rare to see a place like Guangyuan Prefecture, where the entire prefecture was dominated by plains. They had to pass by Zhao, Song, Chu, as well as some half-demon territories to the south of Chu. There was no cargo on the flying boat, so it could fly continuously. However, along the way, they had to go around many mountains, demonic beasts, and important industries. After more than 20 days, they finally arrived at the Divine Weapon Pavilion. The place where the Divine Weapon Pavilion was located was called the Treasure Cauldron Mountain. The mountain was shaped like a round crafting cauldron. It did not matter if one did not use a weapon cauldron to craft magic weapons below grade 4. Wang Daoyuan had never used a weapon cauldron before. However, magic weapons of the 4th level and above still needed a long time to be nurtured after they were refined. Hence, a weapon refining cauldron was required. Legend had it that the Treasure Cauldron Mountain was a weapon cauldron left behind by an immortal. After a long time, it turned into a cauldron-shaped mountain. Not many people believed in this legend, but the Treasure Cauldron Mountain did have an auxiliary effect on weapon crafting. The founder of the Divine Weapon Pavilion had carved many auxiliary formation patterns on the Treasure Cauldron Mountain. It was said that the success rate of crafting here would increase by around 5%. For high-grade magic weapons, the success rate would increase by 5%, and the materials saved would be a huge fortune. The flying boat landed in front of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Wang Daoyuan and the others followed Hallmaster Gu out of the boat. In front of the Divine Weapon Pavilion, 3 Zifu disciples came forward to welcome them. The one in the middle was Wang Daoyin. Wang Daoyin's appearance had not changed much, but his body had grown larger. He was over 9 feet tall, and there was a trace of thunder spiritual energy on his body. It seemed that he had just broken through and had not reached the stage where he could control it freely. After greeting each other, Wang Daoyin pulled Wang Daoyuan and Zhao Liang into the sect. Hallmaster Gu was received by the other 2 Zifu disciples. Wang Daoyin laughed. "Second brother, last time when you opened your Zifu, I was in seclusion. I'm currently in seclusion, so I wasn't able to participate in your Purple Mansion grand ceremony. Don't be angry with me." Wang Daoyuan wanted to pat his little brother on the shoulder, but it was rather strenuous. He laughed awkwardly. "Why are we brothers talking about such things?" Wang Daoyin continued, "Master has always wanted to take you as a disciple, but he didn't have any techniques or spells to pass on to you. Now, he's planning to take you as an honorary disciple. I'll take you to see him." The 4 followed Wang Daoyin into the sect. They walked all the way up, quickly arriving at the peak. Upon arriving at the peak, they discovered that below them was a basin with a diameter of over 300 kilometers. Wang Daoyin pointed at a fiery red tree in the middle of the basin. "Second brother, look. That's where Master's cave is. I usually train under that tree." Chapter 401. Finished speaking, he took out a small flying boat that was 50 to 60 feet long, and invited Wang Daoyuan and the rest to board. Then, he steered the flying boat and flew towards the fiery red tree. The top of the mountain was more than 20,000 feet higher than the basin, and there was a flying forbidden array here, so flying on artifacts could not be done. But the flying boat that Wang Daoyin took out was not affected at all. Wang Daoyuan carefully observed the flying boat and asked, "Brother, I think this flying boat can't fly on its own. It seems that the tool patterns on the flying boat cooperate with the formation patterns of this treasure cauldron mountain to be able to fly. Wang Daoyin smiled and said, "No wonder Master always said that my comprehension is inferior to yours. There are really not many people who can see through the secret of this flying boat at a glance. For the safety of the mountain gate, the treasure cauldron mountain is set up with a flying forbidden array. Flying on artifacts is simply impossible. Cultivators below Golden Core can only rely on this kind of flying boat to fly." The spiritual chi concentration on the top of the mountain was also at the level of a high-grade rank 2 spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan was somewhat in disbelief. The location of a dignified first-rate major force had to be at least a high-grade rank 4 spirit vein. The flying boat gradually descended, and the spiritual chi concentration in the surroundings also became higher and higher. When it was more than 1,000 feet above the ground, the spiritual chi concentration already reached the level of a high-grade rank 4 spirit vein. Wang Daoyuan praised, "What a powerful spirit-binding array. It binds all the spiritual chi to the ground, and very little leaks out." Wang Daoyin smiled and said, "This is the array left behind by the ancestors of the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Originally, the treasure cauldron mountain spirit vein grade was extremely high. It was said that it was once a rank 7 spirit vein. Ever since the formation of the absolute heaven abyss, the spiritual chi concentration in the entire Beiyuan Xiuxian, as well as the spirit vein grade, has been constantly declining. The treasure cauldron mountain was also not spared. Now, it is only at the high-grade rank 4 spirit vein. The effect that the array can play is also getting weaker and weaker. It is said that 50,000 years ago, the power of this array was extremely strong, and very little spiritual chi could leak out. In the periphery of the treasure cauldron mountain, the spiritual chi is not even at the level of a low-grade rank 1 spirit vein. The flying boat's speed was not slow, and soon arrived under the fiery red tree. Everyone left the flying boat. The spiritual chi concentration here already surpassed the level of a high-grade rank 4 spirit vein. Of course, it was still not at the level of a low-grade rank 5 spirit vein. From the 4th rank to the 5th rank, there would be a qualitative change in the spiritual energy. It wasn't something that could be achieved simply by increasing the concentration of spiritual energy. Otherwise, if a cultivator were to compress their spiritual energy using some advanced formations, they would be able to support their breakthrough to the Yuanying realm. However, simply increasing the concentration of spirit energy would not achieve a qualitative change, and it would never become a level 5 spirit energy. This was also the reason why there hadn't been any Yuanying cultivators in Beiyuan Xiuxian for 10,000 years. Wang Daoyuan raised his head and looked at the tree. It was more than 1,000 feet tall, and the thickest part of the tree trunk would require more than 10 people to wrap their arms around it. The shape of the leaves was very similar to mulberry leaves. From the branches to the leaves, they were all fiery red. This tree was a mid-grade 4th stage spiritual wood, and its powerful fire spiritual energy was contained within. Otherwise, Wang Daoyuan and the others wouldn't have dared to stay near this tree. Below the tree was a short mountain condensed using earth attribute magic. The short mountain was over 300 feet tall and there was a large door on the south side. This was Taoist Lei Yan's immortal cave. Taoist Lei Yan should be refining right now, so they didn't dare to disturb him. They waited in front of the door for a while. The door opened and Taoist Lei Yan walked out. Everyone bowed. "Greetings Master, Taoist Lei Yan." Taoist Lei Yan waved his hand, "No need to be so polite." Then, he looked at the little fellow in Zhao Liang's arms and smiled, "This is my little grand disciple, right? Come here and let your grandmaster hug you." Zhao Liang handed the child in his arms to Taoist Lei Yan. The little fellow wasn't even 5 years old, but he wasn't afraid of strangers. He even dared to pull Taoist Lei Yan's beard in his arms. Not only was Taoist Lei Yan not angry, he even laughed heartily. Perhaps, this was what they called distant affection. After playing with the little fellow for a while, Taoist Lei Yan asked, "What's your little grand-disciple's name?" Zhao Liang replied, "He hasn't been given a name yet." Taoist Lei Yan smiled, "Since you've married into the Wang clan, this child will also follow the Wang clan's surname. As his grandmaster, I'll give him a name, Wang Mingting." The little fellow cleverly replied, "Okay." Taoist Lei Yan laughed heartily again, "Don't just stand outside. Come in and sit." After entering the cave, they felt a strong wave of lightning attribute spiritual energy. There were a few stone benches in the cave, and everyone sat down. Taoist Lei Yan asked, "Dao Yuan, you should already know that I intend to take you as my disciple. I'm already over 880 years old, and I've taken in a few in-name disciples, but none of them have formed a golden core. With Dao Yin's potential, forming a golden core won't be a problem. However, my cultivation technique is dual cultivation, and my cultivation speed in the Violet Palace realm is average. Before I pass away, Dao Yin won't be able to form a golden core. Although I haven't done anything outrageous in my life, and I haven't made any mortal enemies, I have a bad temper. I've offended a lot of people, and there's no lack of narrow-minded people among them. After I pass away, there won't be anyone among my disciples who can shoulder the burden, and they'll inevitably be bullied. It might even affect Dao Yin's golden core formation. Thus, I want to take in a disciple who can form a golden core before I pass away. After I pass away, there'll be a golden core cultivator to shoulder the burden, and my enemies will have some misgivings. Although penta-spirit veins have a slow cultivation speed, you're an exception. You'll be able to open the Violet Palace at around 120 years old. The further you go with penta-spirit veins, the greater the advantage. Your cultivation technique is extremely profound, and you'll have a high chance of forming a golden core in 110 years. I want to take you in as an in-name disciple, are you willing? Wang Daoyuan immediately stood up and bowed, "It's my honor to listen to seniors' teachings. However, I've already become a Violet Palace elder of the Netherworld sect, and I'm also the manager of the Tool Refining Hall. If I join the Divine Weapon Pavilion, it'll be equivalent to betraying the sect. I'm not afraid of revenge, but I'm worried that the Netherworld sect will make a move on the Wang family. Previously, sect leader Luo also sent someone to warn me that I can't join the Divine Weapon Pavilion." Taoist Lei Yan smiled, "That's not a problem. It doesn't matter whether you join the Divine Weapon Pavilion or not. After Zhao Liang leaves the Divine Weapon Pavilion, won't he still be my disciple? After I pass away, you don't have to care about those in-name disciples of mine. Their potential is limited, and they won't be able to form a golden core. My enemies won't deal with them either. What I'm most worried about is Dao Yin. He's my personal disciple, and can inherit everything I have. After forming a golden core, he can even inherit my position. Some of my enemies have been drooling over this position for a long time. If I don't take you in as a disciple, there won't be any golden core cultivators among my disciples. They'll dare to make things difficult for Dao Yin, marginalize him, and even secretly harm him. Dao Yin won't be able to control some of the connections I've left behind. In addition, I've left some treasures for Dao Yin to assist in forming a golden core, but they might be taken away by force. In the future, it'll be very difficult for Dao Yin to form a golden core. Only with the status of my in-name disciple and forming a golden core, can you have the right to speak. In addition, your strength far surpasses those of the same stage, so my enemies won't dare to play any tricks. The connections I've left behind will also continue to support Dao Yin. After Dao Yin forms a golden core, he'll be able to inherit my position." Having said that, Wang Daoyuan didn't refuse anymore. He bowed and said, "Since it's for Dao Yin, then as his elder brother, I naturally can't stay out of it." Disciple Wang Daoyuan greets Master. Taoist Lei Yan laughed, "Good, good, good. I've taken in another genius. Dao Yin has inherited all my techniques and spells. On the path of refining, although Dao Yin's talent is not bad, he's still slightly inferior to you. There's no problem for him to inherit my path of refining, but it'll be a little difficult for him to take a step further. With your talent, you'll definitely surpass me on the path of refining. The matter of me taking you in as an in-name disciple will be announced at Dao Yin's Purple Mansion ceremony. Wang Daoyuan replied, I'll follow Master's orders. You're tuning into the Xiaofan's Wuxia Tales YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.